All right. Welcome to the Flicks, Picks, and the Nitpicks. And I'm your host, No 718. I'm joined here by T the Truth. I finally got your man onto this side of things. We chopped it up before. I actually haven't published those, but that's on other formats, my personal channel. But here on the Flicks, Picks, and the Nitpicks, this is his first time on this show, so let's give it up. If you like to introduce yourself a little bit more, anything we need to know before we get in?
Nothing really, my team, the truth. I just like to search for the truth. And the reason why I'm on this show is, besides, I'm just passionate about movies. I am a movie fanatic. I have been a movie fanatic since I was a child. And I can literally go to the movies. If it was up to me, I'd be in a movie theater every Friday and Saturday night. A big joke of mine is I'm the easiest date in the world for a woman. Just take me to a movie. And I'm not just talking, and when I say movie, of course I like watching them on my couch at home, but I like going to the theater. There's something up for me about sitting in the theater, with the crowd that just, it's a feeling that I can't explain. But I'm on this because I'm just a movie fanatic that's it.
All right, so basically you like the movie experience. It's not just the movie, you like the theatrics of it. I mean, is that suffice to say?
Yeah, I'm one of those guys that if the movie starts at 5, I get there early. I gotta see the previews. I gotta see all the previews because that's all part of the experience for me. I have my own, obviously movie theaters are closed, but just on a personal note, I have my own Fandango AMC account. Let's put it this way. I've gotten whole movie tickets and everything free just from the points you build up. That's how much time I spend in the movie theater.
I mean, I can't even lie to you, bro. Like, I love the theaters myself. I love to sit down the theatrics, but I ain't gonna front. I mean, the broke Willie in me since a little boy, I could sit on my stomach and watch a movie in the crib. But the theatrics is always, what can you say?
Let me give you a personal tip. If it's finance you're worried about, then you got to get the Fandangos and AMC apps because again.
Oh, I got the app, my brother. I do got the app. It wasn't about the finances. I just like movies.
As you build up points, it gets cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
And if you go on Tuesdays at AMC, it's $6 Tuesday.
This man over here is giving you the AMC commercial. But I'm not even going to lie, though. Not for nothing. It actually works out for me to actually make my way to the theaters. Not enough hours in the day for me. I do love the theatrics. Don't get me wrong. It actually even took me a minute just to even want to go see a movie by myself. But needless to say, I actually love the theatrics. But because I'm old school, I could just sit down and I remember when we would have nots, I could enjoy it just laying down, watching it on TV. But the thing about being an adult when you're in control of your life, the beauty of it is it's up to you when you want to find the time for the theatrics. So that's one thing that's great. And AMC, I'm not going to lie, as you just gave the commercial out for, the more you watch, the more you save. And I think that was the worst thing for a guy like me because it brought me to the theaters a whole lot more.
Yeah.
But in any event, we're gonna.
Wait, before we start, that you welcome me on your show, I have one movie question for you, if you have one.
Okay. You want to do that at the end, a movie question for me, or you want to?
No. I want to do it now. Just before we start, I just want to ask you because you're a fellow movie fanatic.
Okay.
Just a real quick question: do you have a favorite movie?
Oh, nah, we can't do that today. We can't. That's a whole. That's a whole.
All right.
That's a whole.
Now, how about this?
That's a whole. Cause we could, me and you, we could go win.
How about just for the crowd? One day we're gonna have a special top 5.
Oh no, that's a whole fact. That's coming down the line. That is coming down the line. Cause I feel like for me to just say it, I think we should unveil that on a special day. Let's do that on a special day. One thing I might actually, and we're spitballing here, but we're gonna get into the meat of it. Is I'm actually gonna get into just like on IG, I got my Throwback Thursdays. down the line, I'm actually gonna do a Throwback Thursdays for the YouTube channel, Flicks Picks and the Nitpicks, selecting a
Okay.
classic film. Whoever is gonna be co-hosting with me on it, I might make it a one, or I don't know if I want to do a collage of people. It might be 2 people per Throwback Thursday, depending on how it works out. Cause I got some movie fanatics, and we can make this a quite a long one. But
All right.
but
Let's
I
get
do
into
want
the
to but
topic.
I do want to select like some good vintage films, and especially if we haven't even seen it as well, that we can actually go over, watch it, and review it. I mean, I'm talking Van Damme films, I'm talking 80s, and hey, and if you want to even break out some classic black and whites, even stuff I haven't seen that's recommended, we'll watch it, we revisit it, and we'll do like
That's
a.
so that's so funny you brought up Van Damme because I just watched Double Impact.
Oh man, yo, like I said, man, that's one I want to bring on a Throwback Thursday, to bring back the nostalgia, because there's a lot of movies that kind of like took us from when we were yay hot and knee high
Yeah.
all the way to adult,
Hmm.
that I feel like we could revisit with older eyes, and I think it would be
Hmm.
quite fun to see how we liked it from before,
Yeah.
and how that worked out at the very end, watching it after some
Hmm.
years. But anyway, let's get into today's
Let's get into it.
show, and we're gonna start off with no, the first topic of today is Janelle Monet. Okay, and let me just bring this up real quick. You'll see it on the right hand bar for the viewers. Janelle Monet requests us to play Storm. And I pulled this one directly from, I believe this might actually be on IMDb. Yes. And I'm going to just read to you the opening of it real quick. Janelle Monet told Black Panther's Ryan Coogler she wanted to play Storm in the MCU. After after acquiring 20th Century Fox, Disney gained control of X-Men and Fantastic Four franchises. This opens up all sorts of new options for Marvel Cinematic Universe, including the possibility of recasting certain characters. While no official announcements have been made, the multi-talented Janelle Monet, and I'd also might add quite pretty, has already expressed interest in the iconic superheroine Storm. And a little sidebar underneath, they also say Alexander Shipp, who played Storm in Fox's recent X-Men movies, has repeatedly said that she hopes to continue as a mutant character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, first off, just to parry off of the Alexander Shipp, and we'll do that separately because I feel like there's a conversation to be had. We may even touch on it here, but I wanted to also express Alexandria Ship. Alexandra Ship. I'm fucking up her name real quick. I don't know why I'm messing up, but Alexandra Ship. She actually was the first one to endorse wanting to see, after they had Disney bought Fox's franchise, the X-Men. She actually expressed interest in wanting to be part of the Black Panther film because she already was aware that down the line they do have a corresponding history, and she expressed interest that if they would continue her version of the character, that they would actually, she was hoping that they would actually put her in a Black Panther film. Now, for me, real quick, me and T has spoken before. My personal take on it really was simple: is she, first off, she's great for casting. I think she's the closest to getting to the aesthetic that we can find right now in terms of that, as well as talent outside of Unknown, which I'm not going to lie, I would have preferred an Unknown, all things considered. But if we was going to pick any celebrity at this time, I have to be careful because my personal pick has always been Iman from Remember the Time of Michael Jackson. That is hands down the perfect version of her. And over time, I actually, as of recently, seen the Angela Bassett. I kind of understood before, but I was like, that's too cliche. She's grown on me, but she's quite up in age right now, so you couldn't realistically start the franchise with her. But Janelle Monet, if we're starting from that kind of age range, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to even argue that. Now, what do you think about this, T?
Okay, so now this is where you and I are going to be on opposite sides because now I want to start off, but I think Janelle Monet is extremely talented. I actually think most people know her as a singer, songwriter, but she's actually a good actress. I saw her in Moonlight, where I thought she shot. And
she was in Moonlight. I didn't see Moonlight.
And she also was in Hidden Figures.
That I knew of.
I actually thought she was the standout in Hidden Figures, and she has a movie called Antebellum, a horror movie coming out. I actually don't think she's great casting. I think aesthetically she doesn't look the part. I don't. I actually would like someone like, I do not remember the actress's name, but does everybody remember the old HBO show True Blood?
Her?
Yeah. I think that she would make a better Storm. Obviously, the names that you named before, Iman would be perfect.
I mean, Iman, but I don't. You couldn't do that now. I don't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Age-wise, you couldn't do it now. I actually think that maybe trying to find an unknown.
That's what I say.
Maybe, but I looked at a picture of Janelle Monet. I don't think she looks like Storm. Just the same way, I didn't think Halle Berry looked like Storm.
Oh, nah. That's my baby, though.
And Alexandria Shipp, I actually thought she was a better Storm than Halle Berry. I thought she was a better one. But I don't think Janelle Monet, and again, if there was a Storm in the MCU, do I think that she would do an amazing job? Yes. But just off of, if you're doing purely just visuals right now at this point, I don't see it. I don't. I really don't.
All right, well, if I could just jump in on the aesthetic part, I understand that because I would say yes and no. I say she'd be a good version, or maybe I should specify. I don't think she looks exactly like her, but as far as aesthetic goes, and any working actress in Hollywood right now, she would be the closest for me that I could think of. I know some people, if I may just add this part, thought Lupita Nyong'o would have been a good one. I think she would have been a good idea for a different variation. Does she look like her? To me, no. I think the closest working actress right now that could give me a Storm in terms of how she looked would have been Janelle Monet. I'm not saying she looks exactly like her, but she'd be the closest in aesthetic. Your person, if I'm not mistaken, that's the same young lady from Queen Sugar, correct?
Yeah.
That I never seen that coming. No, I could see how. I could kind of understand, but yet nah.
I have someone else too, and I do not know the actress's name. And there's a TV show on Fox called The Resident, and it's about
The Revenant or The Resident.
Yeah, The Resident.
Okay.
Resident. It's about how it's a hospital show like an ER. There is an African actress on the show. Malcolm Jamal Warner's on the show.
Oh wow.
Morris Chestnut's on the show too.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. But there's an African actress on the show. If you ever get a chance, just type in The Resident, and when they give you the cast.
At some point, I'll make sure we'll get that up on screen.
And she just jumped in my head. I think that she would make the perfect Storm. And I think she aesthetically looks like Storm. She's already African. She already has an accent, which is a natural accent. So, I mean, if we're just going off of that, but if Janelle Monet was cast, I would not be mad because I think she's already proven that she is an actress. Like, it's not just a singer with a pretty face. Janelle Monet actually can act.
I mean, I've heard. I haven't seen any of the films that she's been in so far. I've heard a lot of good things about her. So for me, until I see it, I'll take your word on the acting prowess because from what I understood, that she did a lot of like indies, and I think that's just that says a lot for me that she actually really has a passion for it. I know she's a
Yeah.
performer and everything, and I think she's like Storm has always been an attractive woman, but more pretty than cute. Janelle Monet is a pretty girl, but she's cuter, a little bit more cuter than pretty, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But
And I feel like Storm is a pretty person, like goddess. And I'm not saying that Janelle Monáe cannot play up that, but that's why I said I think that in terms of just if you could find the right cast around her, I still think that she, at least right now, in terms of all actresses, I think she would work. But I would prefer an unknown, and dare I say, can we find an unknown African with an accent that won't fall in and out? If we could find an American actress that can do it, don't get me wrong, I'm with it. But I would really be interested to see an African person, and I think in the book she's technically Kenyan. But but for her to go with that goddess look, I'm not gonna lie, I would really find a high interest of going to Kenya, or find an American Kenyan person that can portray the accent. But I would really want that Kenyan aesthetic. I don't know. For some reason, I would really want to go that far with for Storm, but it's not a have. But I'm not gonna lie, I would like to. Or if we can't, especially most importantly, you want to really focus on the talent over aesthetic. So, like I said, I'll sacrifice that for a great actress that could get us close. And from what I hear about Janelle Monáe, that's why any actress right now in Hollywood, if I would give her any superhero character, I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't want to miss the boat on Janelle Monáe for that.
Just to give you a fun fact about Janelle Monáe, most people didn't even recognize her Moonlight.
And that makes it even better. If she could,
and that's a fact. Like when people was like, I remember.
I didn't know she was in it.
Thank you. I'm gonna tell you right now. I saw Moonlight in the theater. I was on a date and we went to go see. It was on the east side. It was like I think it was downtown. I forgot where exactly. But I saw Moonlight in the theater. When they rolled the credits, I said, Janelle Monáe's in this? That's a true story. I didn't even realize that was her. I didn't even realize it was her.
All right, so how's this? Just to speed things up a little bit further, I want to get into the actual headline, though. What do you think about her? And you spoke on it before, so you know this is what I would like to press upon you. Now, for me, my biggest thing in terms of Janelle Monáe, this idea of actors just walking up and told, like I don't know, maybe it's the wording, but Janelle Monáe told Black Panthers Ryan Coogler she wants to play Storm. Now, I'm sure she wasn't rude about it, and if you read the article further, it also expresses that, yeah, like when she was down there recording, they were down there doing it, so there was kind of a crossing of paths, and she expressed interest. Now, to be quite honest, the idea that she's always wanted to, I don't really believe she was a little girl always wanting to. I think this is starting to get the way of ridiculous. like with people, because I had this weird, there wasn't that many people into this, like unless people were lying, like hiding it to themselves. I think people were interested in passing. I think people were interested in X-Men until, I'm not even gonna lie, I won't even say the X-Men movies. That's the sad part. I don't think people got interested until the MCU was that much of a thing. Now everybody's looking back at all these superhero movies like, oh, I always wanted to be Storm. It's like, nah. I don't know. I'm not thoroughly convinced, even though I don't know enough of Janelle Monáe personally or personality that would make me believe either or. I don't know. I just feel like it's becoming too in trend to say, hey, I always wanted to be this character. Really? Really? like really? So for me, if I may finish, what I'm more concerned with is this idea of wanting to be Storm in a Black Panther movie. And that's why I wanted to say Alexandra Shipp was the first actress to raise it up, because she knew they got married in the comics, and it kind of made more sense for her to ask, because she didn't know how they were gonna merge it. Were they gonna still use our characters and the history that came along with it, or you gonna reboot it? Because even they said they weren't sure. So she said, she knew that there was a relationship there. She would love to be in the Panther movie. And I think also she wanted to be part of how the spectacle of it in terms of cultural and all of that. I think she just wanted to be a part of it. But since it's kind of already been understood that they're not going to, since Alexandra brought up the idea, it's already been said afterwards that Kevin Feige wasn't going to touch it for another 5 years. Now, I know all speculations and stuff aside that they're saying that they're putting little breadcrumbs in it. All of that aside, my thing is, what would be, why would you want Storm to show up in Black Panther? Why would that even be a thought? Like to me, I don't even understand that. Like, I get the fact that they get married in the book. This is Black Panther's movie 2. Second movie. And let's be for real, we still don't really know enough of Black Panther. I'm sorry to say, Black Panther 1 wasn't a personal film. The story was about Killmonger. I want to see a story about that creates the interest in Black Panther as a character, other than him just being the smorgasbord to just lift off other characters. Because I feel like you would have to really explain the mutant and all of that. I don't know. That's just my concerns. But you take off. Where do you land on that?
All right. So, well, we disagree on what the Black Panther was about. I actually think the main character of Black Panther was Wakanda. I think the country was the main character, actually. So
I wouldn't disagree, but I'm just talking in terms of character. In terms of character, I'm just saying in terms of character, if I may further clarify, I'm just saying outside of that, which I wouldn't even disagree with, I would agree. It just seemed like the origin story was more about Killmonger. This was more about Killmonger's story. And how it fits in the Black Panther movie. To me. And if that's the case, I don't want to see that done with Storm. Because it'll be Black Panther fitting around Storm's origin.
I can see that. Well, this is what I'm going to say. Hey, I'll tackle the first question about actors approaching whatever, right? Closed mouths don't get fed.
Facts.
So I'm not mad at someone, and as we know, especially with actors now, there was a time when actors were on TV and wanted to go into movies. Now you got actors in movies. They're going to TV. They're going to Netflix. They're going to Amazon and doing little series. Like, Al Pacino's on a series now. And I think that when an actor, let's say Alexander Shipp or Janelle Monet, approaches a Ryan Coogler or Kevin Feige, right? They already see the MCU machine, and it almost guarantees work. Like, let's be honest. And you know what's funny? Let's take the actress Denai Guerrero, who plays Okoye, right? We all know that person. Actually, she would have been a great Storm if she wasn't Okoye. If she wasn't Okoye.
I mean, she would have been in a variation of, but I don't know. I just don't.
But I'm just saying, but I don't want to jump off of that. But what I'm saying is, you notice that she was in Black Panther, right?
Mm-hmm.
Black Panther takes off. She was in Infinity War. She was in Endgame. Even though they were small scenes, she was in it. So I think a lot of them, what they do, the same thing with Tessa Thompson. She was in Thor Ragnarok. Then she appeared in Endgame. I think that what a lot of the actors are doing is just seeing the MCU machine and going, let me jump on that, because it's kind of guaranteed work. You understand what I'm saying? It's guaranteed work. So let's say Janelle Monet does get cast as Storm. And let's just say she isn't Black Panther 2 and the crowd loves her. Even if they wait 5 years for X-Men movie, they'll figure out a way within that 5-year span for Storm to pop up somewhere else. You know, I think it's more of a personal, this MCU machine, I'll get continuous work out of it.
I mean that's already a given. I'm just talking about now. How does that affect the film? That's why I said it's not about me being mad that people wanting to get work.
I'm just addressing that issue. Now, on the issue of Storm appearing in Black Panther 2, I'm completely against it. I'm completely against it for pretty much your same reason. I think with Black Panther, the first one, and I do love the film. I think it's a good film. And again, I think that what Ryan Coogler did was there was a lot of world building for Wakanda, and of course there was the Killmonger story. There was the Mirage. I just think that Ryan Coogler had a lot of pieces, and kudos to him because I think that he handled the pieces very well. And I think Black Panther was the glue for these pieces, and at times he was overshadowed, and it could have, at times he was, I thought, and it could have just been Chadwick Boseman's performance. It was just it just wasn't a over-the-top performance. You know, I just think that it was a very solid performance, and he was the glue for everything. But I do believe when we move into a Black Panther 2, now that we've already built the Wakanda world, and we already know about the Dora Milaje, and we know that his sister Shuri's a genius, now that the world has been built, I do believe we can get a little bit more personal. The most personal thing in Black Panther 1 was his relationship with his father.
Mm-hmm. And he was already dead.
Right, and we didn't even really dig into him becoming king because the whole thing jumped off. So now after Infinity War and you open up the borders and all that, I do hope that Black Panther 2 is a more focused on T'Challa. We don't need to build the world of Wakanda. We did that already. We don't need to know who the Dora Milaje is. We know what they do. So I'd like to see a more personal story. I do not think his second movie, when he ended the first movie kissing, what was her character? It starts with an N.
Oh shit.
Is it Naya?
Nakia.
It ended with him kissing Nakia. So now we fast forward, and now he's in love with Storm. So
and that's another thing too. Exactly. I mean, even though they say her character becomes a bad guy in the comic, that I don't remember. I wasn't reading a lot of Black Panther comics, but
so you would have to build that kind of romance as in Captain America and Scarlet Witch. So you'd have to start from when they met. Like it would. I don't want to see Black Panther 2, the love story. You know what I mean? I don't want to see that. But I actually do believe that it's all just rumors. I don't think that Ryan Coogler, who is writing the script, I don't even think he was even thinking about Storm, to be honest.
Well, I'll be honest with you. If I could just jump in here, I will say this. I don't believe that it was his... It's up to him to even bring in Storm because that's a Kevin Feige thing. That's a mutant thing. That has to be the higher execs. They're either going to make him do it or not. In terms of rumor, I don't think it's a rumor that people been pining for it at all. In terms of, like, Alexandra Shipp had to make a comment about people as soon as the buy went through. There were actresses already saying, I want to be, and it was like, dag, my movie didn't drop yet, and she thought it was kind of unprofessional, and it was just kind of rude. And I'll be honest with you, she was a better Storm than Halle Berry was, and I liked her. I liked her variation of it. Yes, she's light skinned, and yes, I'm not gonna lie, I noticed them making her darker in the promo. I noticed that shit. They was making her dark in the promos. Promise you that. They were darkening the image. But needless to say, neither here nor there. I thought it was a little bit out the way, but this is this is when I talk about it being in trend to be like, hey, I want to be this, I want to be this. And I mean, it could be fun to a degree, but now we're getting to the realm of, it's a little disrespectful if, like I might
It's
be out of a
unprofessional.
job and you pining for my job, and
Yeah,
it's not even clear. It's starting to
just
be a
really,
shit show. It's starting to become a
yeah,
shit show.
it's unprofessional. It's just very unprofessional.
Like even to me, even though the Tessa Thompson thing, Tessa, you wasn't even a strong name like that, mama. Like, and you came in just the strength of someone else's movie that you showed up in. You just walked up on Kevin Feige, say, yo, what's up with this all female? It's like, this is
Now
not the way I want
remember, we
movies to
don't know,
be
but we don't
pitched.
know how the
Like that's what
we don't
they
know how
said,
the
because even Kevin
conversation went.
Feige talked about it. Kevin Feige talked about it. That joint is on the record. Like
He said that.
they said that they waited for her. He was like, I was kind of into him. He tried to make it cute, but I think even he was like, yeah, and I think that's why they did the scene, the A4 scene.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was his way of throwing her something. But they came at it like, yo, what's up with the... And I don't think they came up in on no thuggery, but I do believe that they kind of came up on him. Like, I think even he was like, damn, like, all right.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, all right. Because he's weaving a multi-layered universe. How do you look like walking up on him saying that? I think, and this is before even Scarlet Witch even, like Scarlett Johansson didn't even ask for that. Tessa, you?
Well, that's also,
think about it. I thought that was just a little. I'm just saying that kind of way of doing films with agenda ahead first, before the story, before the weaving. I don't want that to be. I don't want that to be. I don't want that. No matter what the agenda is, I just don't want that to be. So that's how we're pitching films.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. What I'm actually saying that Scarlett Johansson, for her, she's been in the game a lot longer, and I think that she already, because she started in Iron Man 2 and moved on to Cap. I think that Scarlett Johansson, I'm going to call her Scarlet Witch. I think that she was very pleased with where her character was going. Like, I mean, we all know that Black Widow has her own movie, which I got to admit, I love the trailer. I'm really excited.
No, me too. Yeah.
But I don't even think that she was the big push to get the movie. I don't think she was the big push. I think that people kept asking about it, but I think that she was actually very happy, because when you really think about it, look at Black Widow, and this is something for a lot of people to look at. Actually, she started out at Iron Man 2, right? Yeah, it was Iron Man 2, and she was in Civil War. She was in Avengers. That's 3 Avenger movies. 4, obviously Civil War, Winter Soldier. Like, do you realize, out of all the actors, that includes Tony Stark, I think she's been in the most movies.
I mean, if you want to tally it up. But before I close out, because I don't want her to be the focus of this segment, I will say this. She was actually on the record for saying that she didn't think she needed a movie.
Yeah, I think.
And I like those type of stances. Some characters don't need a movie. They're fine the way they are. Some characters organically can blossom. My thing is I'm all good with. I'm one of them dudes. I like the A4 scene. I just don't want it to be like, hey, what's up with the female? Because it's popping and you want to. I don't think that you care about story at that point. I just think you just care more about whatever thing you want to push, because you want the all girl version as opposed to having an interesting story. We seen what happened when people did that with Birds of Prey, and we seen how that turned out.
Yeah. I mean, but we go back to Black Panther. I honestly believe that I am in agreement with you. I honestly do not want to see Storm in a Black Panther movie, because also, for those comic book fans or movie fans, they already know Storm from the X-Men. And again, I don't want people to go into... seeing Storm in a Black Panther movie, and then people in the audience go, "Is Wolverine gonna show up?"
Thank you.
Like,
Thank
is Wolverine
you.
gonna show up?
Don't come with the character first. Come with a good story.
Because remember how there was that last X-Men movie and he popped up in it for that one scene.
I know you're talking about.
You know, right, he popped up there, and it was the worst kept secret. It was the worst because everybody already knew he was going to pop up, but then again, they messed up when they did the preview. But I don't want, Black Panther 2 and Storm is in it, and then people are sitting in the theater going, "Yo, you think Deadpool will make a guest appearance?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it takes away from Black Panther, and for $1 billion movie, over $1 billion movie, I think that I would like Black Panther 2 to be. To be honest, I only want Black Panther as the hero and then the villain. I don't want to see nobody else pop up. I just want to see who's the bad guy. Like Spider-Man 2. The bad guy was Doc Ock. And then you had Green Goblin's son, Hobgoblin, but it was Spider-Man. It was about Spider-Man. I want Black Panther 2 to be about Black Panther. Like I said, we've already built the world. I do not need Storm or Captain America's going to make a guest appearance. No. I think that Black Panther's established because, again, when you really think about it, Black Panther 1 didn't have any guest appearances from no one. It stood on its own. Like, there were no guest appearances.
It was a lot of the people around him. That's why you would have to call it the Wakanda movie.
But you didn't know them. You didn't know them.
No, of course. But either way you look at it, that's why the argument will always be, you can always put as many characters in it because you'll never know them. It could just be someone walking in. There's always man characters in the film. And that's always been the argument. Like I said, you could always do a flashback when he was growing up and have a white-haired girl because that's his story his story doesn't start when they're adults. His story with Aurora starts when they were young and kids. They had a past. They ran into each other later. So unless you have like a past history where he's just talking about life and he has a moment where you just see him with a white-haired girl, then that's it. But it has nothing to do with her. That you're just showing that she exists. I'm cool with that because everyone would be like, "Oh shit, that might be Storm." That still may overtake the conversation over Black Panther without even having a Janelle Monet. Like I said, you could just have a stand-in white-haired girl. Like, even in X-Men Origins, Aurora was there. They just showed a white-haired girl. She was in the in the prison cell, and you could just see her doing a little weather thing, but you seen her. You could just do that as well. But my thing is, either way you look at it, it'll be the headline over. And if you get Janelle Monet, that means that you're not going to have a glorified cameo. You're going to do more with her. And like I said, I'd rather see a Storm movie by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want, show that a young T'Challa there in her movie.
Right.
But as opposed to, and I don't mind if you did it with him, but like I said, he doesn't have a movie to me where his personality stands out. Him. I just need one with him. That's me. Just him. Focus on him. Well, clearly, obviously, you. And just focus on his narrative and his story. Yes, keep his sister around. I love all these other characters, but I don't want, now that we have lovable characters, give them more lines and more, and then it becomes Wakanda as opposed to Black Panther. I came to see Black Panther, not Wakanda. We can make a Wakanda movie. We can. But I don't want it to be Black Panthers. But I'll leave you with your closing and we get to the next topic.
No, my closing is really simple. I hope that the Storm in Black Panther 2 is a rumor, and I hope it does not come to fruition. I want Black Panther 2 to be about T'Challa and his next adventure. And, if you want to drop a little nugget of Storm at the end or something, that's great. But I do not want... I think you need to establish the X-Men before you start doing that. And I think throwing one of the key X-Men figures in the Black Panther movie, I just think he would monkey wrench the movie. So that's why I stand on it. So hopefully for Janelle Monet going after the father, just saying, hey, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you for that, but I don't want to see it. That's all.
That's a fact. Next topic is X-Men in the MCU. Now, what are your thoughts in particular? We had like reports from Polygon.com, a platform discussion, and we also have a Screen Rant conversation on the idea of Marvel's Phase 4 ideas, connections, and setups. Now, one thing in I believe it was a Polygon conversation where you had a lot of comic creators speaking on it. There was some interesting concepts on it, but first off, let me know, what do you feel about X-Men and MCU?
I have no problem with it. I have absolutely no problem with it. I think that the MCU has a great track record, and I think that they're starting to experiment a little more with, I think Black Panther was a little more, it dealt with a little more serious issues. Nothing bad. I think they know how to ride the line. But I really don't have a problem with them in the MCU at all. I really don't. And I think that
the MCU as it is.
As it is, I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. I think if you make a good film, you make a good film. And I think that what is going on is, I think that comic book fans are forgetting something. Comic book fans are forgetting that we are a small minority. The most people that go to the Marvel movies are not comic book fans who are buying the books. They like the spectacle. So for them, it's just, oh, wow, I could see the X-Men with the Avengers. It's just a bigger spectacle. I don't have an issue at all with them being in the MCU. If the MCU takes over, if you make a good X-Men film, you make a good X-Men film. That's how I look at it. So I don't get caught up in the, oh my God, I don't want them in the MCU. To me, it doesn't bother me at all. Because guess what? The X-Men movies in Fox were rated PG-13. The ones in the MCU are going to be rated PG-13. Now, all I care about is, do you have the right actors, a good script, and a good director? And if you find a way to have Infinity War Part 5, and you can have the Avengers and the X-Men, like they did in the comics, and you can have that big spectacle scene like you had at the Endgame, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. So I truly, that doesn't bother me. Because like I said, I truly believe that comic book fans, you think that those people that make MCU movies $1 billion, most of them are not comic book fans. They learned about Thor through the MCU movies. I can give you a proof. My aunt loves the MCU movies. Loves them. She had tickets to see Infinity War a month before it came out. When we saw Endgame, she called me. She loves the MCU. Never picked up a comic book in her life. Never picked it up. So if you told my aunt, X-Men are joining the MCU, to her, it's more candy in the candy jar. My mother likes some of the Marvel movies. Never read a comic book in her life. It's a spectacle. So that's why when we watch a movie, like for example, I know a lot of people who love Thanos. I saw the Infinity War. Guess what? I can tell you right now, that story was called the Infinity Gauntlet. It was changed around a lot. There was no, I want to send balance to the world. He wanted to impress Lady Death.
All right. But I guess, where I
So
come
I guess
into
what I
it,
mean, because I'm going off on a tangent. Just for me, it's not a big deal. Like it
understood.
doesn't it doesn't matter to me.
I mean, understood. I mean, I guess for me, I mean, my issues with it is that one, just like another YouTuber said, is you'll get, if you get what you want, it's gonna be less X-Men movies. It's just gonna be a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And less, or that, and less Avengers movies. So either we're going to lead with the X-Men and focus on them, or it's going to be less of that. You got to remember, that's a huge universe and everything has to fit right. Then you got Fantastic Four, which to me is a better fit for the MCU. Now, all things being considered, the little boy in me wants to see all of them running around like roaches in the same world. But I want more movies and I want diverse depictions of them. Be honest with you. So I think it would behoove them to have their own separate universe just for X-Men, because there's so many X-Men. There's more X-Men than there are actual really super. Just X-Men and mutants alone. You don't need the MCU with all those characters. My problem with the MCU, X-Men coming out of out of MCU. And all things considered, you could always write a great script, but I think no matter what script you write, you're going to have to divorce yourself a lot from X-Men lore. What that means is, by making them come out now, then you're going to have to explain where they've been at this whole time. You're going to also have to explain where there are already mutants in the world, because we haven't even gotten a hint of them. So unless they're just now coming out, then you have to explain why is Xavier so nice with it when he just discovered his powers. Unless you're gonna say he knew his powers the whole time, and then when did Aurora know how to control control the weather? Then no one noticed that in this day and age where we have cell phones and shit. Where you could say they hid like Nightcrawler. Okay. So that means this is the first time people see it. Then you're going to have to go through the beginning stages of it. Now, like I said, it's going to be very muddled. It's going to be very muddled, because with the X-Men don't just start from today. They've been here and been around and have been woven throughout the history. My personal issue is you're going to have to divorce yourself a lot from X-Men lore. And you're gonna have to sacrifice the X-Men to force them in a universe that had no support for them, no open end support from them at all, unless you use multiverse. And unless you want to do the multiverse, you're gonna have to make that interesting. Otherwise, if you ask me, I just start a whole new universe where a new segment, X-Men World, where they have their own Feige and they could pump out their own movies out of their studio, where they don't have to worry about, well, how do we make that make sense with this old story now? Because now we're saying this guy's here, and like I said, you're going to have to find a way to make it look like they've always been around. And by doing that, you may end up having to pull a lot of shit out your ass, or have something that the MCU wasn't known for. Inconsistency.
I think that you are giving the general public a lot deeper than what it is. I think that if they made an excellent movie right now and just inserted them, nobody's going to ask the question where they've been. I don't think nobody's going to ask the question.
Yeah, and again, if I may say, you're going to, if you did that, you'd still sacrifice a lot of the X-Men. So there'll be something else. So it'll just be X-Men in name and brand new everything. And if that's cool, hold on, let me finish. If that is cool, then the question still remains: is that still the X-Men? That's just how I feel about it with that, and you can take your last points on that.
I look at it this way: the same way Sony did it with Spider-Man, the same way we had Andrew Garfield for 2 movies, and within the next 2-3 years, we had what's his name?
That's not the same. You're talking about a complete reboot. That's not the
Okay,
same.
but again, if you bring in the X-Men, right, and let's say they recasted everyone, right, and you just inserted them and made an X-Men movie, and you just made a mention of Professor X says, and just a brief conversation. Hey, Professor, who you on the phone with? Yeah, I'm talking to Steve Rogers about something, something, something. I think that when you say sacrifice the X-Men lore, what does that mean? I'm asking, what does that mean?
I thought I
Lore?
explained it, so I'll try it
I'm
again.
asking you,
With
yeah,
the X-Men
explain.
and you being a reader, they come with backlogs of history. Where are you gonna start your X-Men from? If you're saying this is the first time mutants came out, then you sacrifice a lot of their back history. That means that you'd have to explain Sinister been around from before. You have Mystique, you could get away with Mystique because she's a shapeshifter. You have Nightcrawler. Where do you begin? Because you had obviously deformations or deformities with these characters. So my thing is, you take away a lot of. If we was to start an X-Men movie, brand new, no MCU, you're polished. You have a brand new slate. So I could say, if I introduce Nightcrawler, there's no, well, how the fuck this blue guy, there's blue people walking around and no one there. No, we're starting from here. So if I'm starting from an X-Men movie, yeah, they've always been around in their back history. If you start X-Men, if I was to start X-Men in, let me just say we have well, actually Hellboy wouldn't lend it's, so let's say we just decide to throw mutants into the world of M. Night Shyamalan Split. You'll be like, that kind of convolutes. It wasn't the point of these characters that they were kind of, not too many people even seen people like that. So then that developed their counters, and like remember how it was in what is it, Unbreakable? Like you have a hero and his counterpart. It was kind of like this whole balance of life. They have a whole story with a template catered around that did not support mutants. Is there a creative way where you could write them in? Yeah. Could it even be interesting? Yeah. But you're going to have to sacrifice a lot of X-Men lore. Now, for everyone that thinks that this will be the most accurate X-Men, by definition, it could not be. You'd have to sacrifice a lot of X-Men lore to massage them somehow into the MCU, unless you do a whole the multiverse, then you fold the multiverses together and somehow poof, they ended up into your universe and somehow melded their history into that. And that's just way too much geek shit that's been in the comics. But like you said, there's people that don't read the comics. That shit might convolute the story. Why complicate the MCU already just to force in X-Men and sacrifice the X-Men to force them into the MCU? Albeit, all things considered, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. So I'm sure somebody could find a great way to do it. Anybody possibly can. If you want, I mean, anything is possible. I'm just saying, on paper, you would have to sacrifice unless you do a lot of trickery, and then you still are risking losing your audience that don't read books. I'm just saying. I mean, I don't know how. Maybe I'm not communicating it well enough, but I don't know how it's not understood that if X-Men were to just pop up, remember, it's not just X-Men. The concept of mutants, that's what I'm talking about. Like, X-Men is a team. The concept of mutants been around. For you to bring them up, you'd have to add the say they were in hiding the whole time, which you're going to have to really be like, okay, the Trask, you can't really just have Sentinels. You know what I mean? If they're just popping up, you feel what I'm saying? Like, you lose a lot of lore if you start X-Men or mutants, I should say, if that makes sense, to be more accurate, to start discovering mutants now. Then you can't have Sentinels in it. You can't. It wouldn't even make sense. Because it'd be like, well, why would they just have... Now you'd have to deal with the politics of it. That would be interesting. And if you ask me, if we was to do an X-Men movie all over, I would just start from back in the day when they first came out. And I would just call it mutants. I wouldn't even... And Xavier will show up in it. I wouldn't even deal with the First Class. I'll just deal with the idea of mutants. Then I'd go get into the first teams and all of that. But people want to get to Wolverine. They already talked about Wolverine and Hulk having a movie together. That's the rumor mill. I don't know if that's 100% sure. Like I said again, for you to do that, if Wolverine is running around now, then that means Magneto's been around. Magneto would already made a move already. Like I said, where do you start this from? You starting this from the apex of mutants, or you starting from the first team of X-Men? Either way, you're gonna have to explain where were mutants this whole time the MCU's been running around with their first superhuman what is it, programs that they were doing with the government, this, that, and the third. I mean, like I said, and then you're already building a TV universe. You're expanding the universe so wide with not one concept of mutants ever being around. Like I said, you're gonna sacrifice a lot of X-Men lore just to wedge them in, or you're gonna deal with what Fox dealt with. A lot of continuity errors. And I don't think that for someone who's interwoven it so well to make this universe, you want to complicate it and convolute it so much more because you really want X-Men to be in it, then you may sacrifice your universe just to get what you want. And they've already discussed it. There's already been articles about, if you look at Endgame, there's a lot of holes that's being left because of Endgame wanted to do time travel and all this other stuff. And at some point, even some of the writers said, we just thought it would look cool. It does look cool. And you had a lot of time to get away with it. But now you've opened it up now. So now you've got to address these holes. Unless you don't mind moving forward with just being like how X-Men was. Hey, this is continuity. We be damned. This is what we're doing. And that could work too. But I'm just saying they built a house based on intricacy. Don't sacrifice what you made your name on just because you want to inject all this other stuff. You may end up you may mess up your own franchise. But that's all I got to say on to that. What I wanted to move along to was certain things in the article that I want to read off real quick about certain things they said going past that. Now, I'm not one quote out of that article that I do like or would like to read is one of the creators actually quoted for saying, "I'm not opposed to seeing the classic characters," she continued. And like any diehard fan, there's an excitement in seeing new takes on those characters. But I confess that my focus is more wanting to see all the incredibly cool stuff / characters we haven't gotten to see yet, instead of seeing new takes on what's already been seen. I want to see a Laura Wolverine. I want to see Armor and Magic. I'd like to see Storm get a real story. She's so fascinating and was so underserved in the films. Obviously, what I like to see most of all is Rogue and Gambit on the screen together, flirting and fighting as they are meant to be. Also, there's another quote in here I found pretty cool too, which touches on a lot of the things that I was saying. Oh shoot, I think I read that off backwards. Let me do this again. I always felt the movie sidelined the women to an absurd degree, he told Polygon. And this is on the Polygon. The X-Men have the strongest roster of female heroes in comics, but the movies never gave characters like Storm, Rogue, Kitty, Jubilee, Emma, or Psylocke their due, and never tapped into characters like Illyana, Dazzler, Monet, or Danny. It's not the X-Men to me if the women aren't front and center. Thompson felt the same way. I don't want to dismiss Professor Xavier, Magneto, and Wolverine and their importance to the X mythos. She said, but we've had literally 2 decades of those men being the wheel upon which all X-Men film stories turn, and and this is that one cuts off. Excuse me. So that one cuts off. But for the most part, I do understand what she was trying to say in that. And my point to you is, in just reading off these quotes, albeit a little out of order, I think one thing is, women, a lot of them don't have a lot of stories to tell. Like I said, and I love what she said, solo stories. X-Men, to be honest, a lot of these characters should have solo stories. And the fact that they should have solo stories to develop these characters, like they said, there's so many characters that never got a shot. We've done the Magneto and Xavier thing, and I think that's the spine. I don't think you could navigate away from it. That's why I would start with a mutant film and bring Xavier into it near the end, if we're going to start off, so at least we can see the development of mutants, how they came out, their civil rights movement, everything that they went through. I think that would be the better way of going with it, to start fresh. You set a nice new bed, you can start you can set the stage in the rules in which they all have, and the parameters in which they have to work in. Then you could go branch out. Now you're doing something a little bit different. Now, if you want to start from like giant size X-Men, where we don't have to start from the core 4, we could say the core 4 has existed already, because we're starting from giant size, and then we could go right into it and we can start building off of them. But again, once you put Wolverine, it becomes a Wolverine show. Again, that's why I do think that the best way to start off with, especially if you want to start off with female characters, you could start off with a Storm movie, from her being the Weather Witch from back in the day when she was a child, and how she evolved and ends up landing into New York. You could do one just based on Cyclops. Why not? Cyclops has been so underdeveloped in the cinematic universe. We should actually, this is a time where we could actually develop marginalized characters and make them their own Wolverine, in terms of make them have their own story onto its own. Then they get into the team. We have a good moment in which we could do something we never done before and not navigate away from X-Men. Your take?
I mean, like I said, I don't know if like you said, some characters don't deserve a solo movie. I don't know if the public, I don't know if I'd be interested in a Storm movie, a Gambit movie, all these other movies. I don't know if I'd be interested in that. I mean, obviously, it really all depends on. But then again, I said the same thing about Black Widow, and then I saw the trailer. I can't wait to see it.
And you're saying the same thing about X-Men, as long as they basically, it seemed like what you were saying with the X-Men, as long as they write it well. I mean, I'm here for it. I mean, so you can say that with anything, but that's why I'm saying I want to get away from saying you can say that with anything, unless that's just your stance, and then I could walk with it.
Yeah, that's just kind of my stance on it. Like I said, I think that like I said, I don't have a problem with the MCU taking over. I think the point of you buying Fox and acquiring all their toys was because you were going to play with the toys. Like, you know what I mean? I think that was part of it.
I don't think suggesting it being another universe or doing has anything to do with not playing with it. Clearly, you're gonna play with it. The
No,
question
that's the
is
thing.
do
So
you play with it in the MCU as it stands?
yeah, I think it can be done. I think it can be done. I don't even think it's going to be that complicated. I really don't. I really don't. I think I don't even think you need to start from the beginning of mutants. I don't even think you got to do that.
Well, I said
I
that
think
you should do that. You should
no,
do
I think
that.
you could.
I
You
say you
could.
should do. No, I'm no. So I could be clear. I say you should do that if they had their own universe.
Right. I mean, okay. So, and I think that if they don't have their own universe, and we're talking years out, let's say you decide that we're bringing in. Now, the question is, are you recasting or are you using the same exact characters?
I mean, what you mean recasting? Or you mean the same actors, or you recasting the
I'm talking
lineup?
actors,
Or you talking about the characters itself? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the characters and the actors. Like, if you want to do an X-Men movie and you have Magneto, like, you don't need to really. Well, I like what Fassbender was doing. I like what McAvoy was doing. You know what? Are we just using them? You know what I mean? Like, I do you, and it really depends on that. Is are we recasting or are we just? We're just throwing you in the MCU now. We kind of already like the performance you guys was doing already. We're just throwing you in.
Well, I mean, paying attention to Kevin Feige, I would assume he's gonna rebuff everything. He doesn't seem like he likes to take anybody else's shit. Like,
right,
I mean,
and that's kind of what I was thinking too. But again, I also think that once you figure out whether you're rebooting or whatever, I think you're just gonna insert them. I think you're going to insert them. I think a smart way to insert them is just throw one of them randomly in one of your MCU movies.
What?
Throw one of them randomly.
Was it say that again?
The same way. Matter of fact, you had mutants in the MCU anyway.
No, you didn't.
Didn't you have Quicksilver?
I knew you was gonna say that. They never said they were mutants. You don't remember they got their powers from the stone. That's how they got.
I know, but again, you could do that. You can insert them. You can literally insert.
But they don't. They're not mutants in that though. That's okay, what I'm saying. As it stands, they're not mutants.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be them particularly. You can literally insert a mutant in a movie and just talk about how they're a mutant. You can literally pick. You could literally pick. Name a mutant, Rogue or Gambit or whoever, and you can have them in. I'm just throwing it out there. Doctor Strange 3. And insert them and just mention how they're a mutant, and there you go. That's all it takes. It's really not going to be that complicated. It's really not. You could literally recast Wolverine and insert him in any MCU movie as a quick 10-minute, oh my God, that's the new Wolverine. And all you need to know right then and there, we'll remix one mention of the X-Men, and that's it. Coming soon 3 years later, X-Men movie. It ain't. I do not even see the insertion hard at all. I don't see it hard at all. You pick one character, Wolverine, which is the most popular, and you insert him in an MCU movie, and he don't even have to be the star. He just has to be like, matter of fact, just the same way he was in the Apocalypse at the end, where he had that little 5-10 minute scene. You could damn near have him in the same thing in an MCU movie. You could, and for a 10-minute scene, the crowd goes wild. He makes a mention of, the X-Men, and I got this Miss Professor X is calling me. He's out the movie. Captain America goes on his next adventure, but the crowd has already went wild that we saw the new Wolverine coming, 2025 X-Men movie. That's all you needed. X-Men movie comes, all the characters are there. I don't see this hard at all. I really don't. Matter of fact, you can recast Magneto and you can make him the bad guy in one of your MCU movies. Or one of the sub-bad guys. You know how like Spider-Man had Doc Octopus, but there was the Green Goblin. And Magneto talks about what would happen to mutants. And there you go. Coming 3 years from now, the X-Men movie, first MCU X-Men movie. We already saw Magneto in, the first Fantastic Four movie. We saw Magneto. There you go. After we talked about Storm and Black Panther 2. We didn't even got to see Storm. All we got to do is mention her. All we got to do is T'Challa mention her. Hey, whatever happened to that girl? The one that you was in love with. With the white hair that used to control the elements. Yeah, she's off where she left Africa because of her powers, and she's at this special group of gifted children. All we got to do is mention it. That's all it got to do is be mentioned. You got to see Storm. Let T'Challa mention the African girl with the white hair who had the powers. Whatever happened to T'Challa or his mother? Oh, because our powers, we didn't know how to deal with her, but we found we had this special guy named Xavier came and got her because he deals with people that are born with powers. I think they call them mutants. I think in the United States they call them mutants. Okay.
Wait. They never mentioned mutants before. That's the problem. I think in the United States they never did.
But I'm just saying, I'm just saying they don't have to.
I'm just saying, even, but that's the conundrum you have. How can you mention a gift for, again, that's what I'm saying. That, like, I think that's my issue is, unless you're saying mutants just came up out of thin air today, or they're just having their coming out party, you just mentioning like they've always been around.
And I guarantee
and no one's and through the Sokovia Awards, there was never no anti-mutant. Hold on. There was no anti-mutant rhetoric. There was none of that, because that's kind of the core of the X-Men.
And the crowd will follow.
So all right, then you want cheese? That's what I said. You could just do that. Like I said, you could do cheese. I take it serious as a real film. If we want to do popcorn cheese, that's what's up.
I am taking it, but I also understand that the people that made these movies big, most of them are not comic book fans. They are not going to care about continuity and all that stuff. I guarantee you they won't. They won't. The MCU is not this big billion dollar machine because of comic book fans.
No one said that. Again, you're missing the point.
You can easily. No, I'm not missing the point. What I'm telling you.
Oh, maybe you're missing my point. But
I'm not missing your point. I'm saying it can easily be inserted. And all those questions that you're asking, the majority of the public is not going to ask. They're going to follow it. Yeah, you're going to have that percentage, that 25% like you, that's going to be like, damn, you never mentioned mutants before. All this other stuff, all the stuff that you're mentioning, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people like you. The vast majority are not going to ask those questions.
Cool. Again, and I'll leave with this, and it's not even about getting the last word, because it's all about, again, all you're doing is restating what I'm already saying. You're gonna have to divorce yourself from a lot of X-Men lore to get away with that. That's all I'm saying. And if you're saying, and if your argument, the only argument out of that I can hear is the fan, the general audience wouldn't care anyway because they don't read the book. Now, if that's your argument, that would make sense, but that doesn't take away what I said. You're gonna have to divorce yourself from a whole lot of X-Men lore just to do it.
Okay. And then
that's it. That's all I'm saying. And with it is a lot of history, a lot of storylines that you'd have to, even though they're already rewriting a lot of it. A lot of these are not out of the book. My point being is that in all things considering, you could write anything to make it dope and good. So even if you divorce a lot of the lore, you can still make it great, make a great movie. But then again, you're gonna still walk into the what do we love a lot? Man of Steel, excellent superhero movie, great film. A lot of people says that's not Superman. You may come across those type of issues, and as much as you like to say that it don't matter the general audience, the vocal minority has tanked films. They ruined the Snyderverse. This is why we're coming back to it now. You know what I'm saying? We've heard the vocal majority force people off of projects that could have
Yeah,
probably been
okay.
good. Like Scarlett Johansson didn't do the transgender film. Great actress, might have been a great film. Have we heard anybody the transgender person that's going to take on the role? No, that movie is gone. No one's talking about that movie. You know what I'm
And I
saying?
get
So
and I get what
again,
you're saying.
so
But
all I'm
even with
saying,
that,
anyone could write something good, but again, it goes back to you divorce a lot of the lore. And
but
if
then
you divorce,
we
and
do that
unless you're
anyway.
saying the lore might not matter, you could reshape and rewrite your own variation of X-Men. And yeah, you can. I mean, anybody can
We
do
did
that.
it. We did it.
Realistically, doing.
We did it. X-Men 1.
I
X-Men 1
mean,
is devoid of the history.
no, it's still
X-Men
no,
1.
but still, nah, no, it's not. Nah,
Excuse me. The first
I vehemently
Is
disagree.
Wolverine part of the first X-Men team? No. Was no. The first X-Men movie with Wolverine, Storm, Hugh Jackman, that's not the first team. You completely
T
skipped the
T
whole history.
T again.
Which, which, but you did.
No,
I'm
no,
saying.
no, no. I mean, if you let me explain, in any movie they were gonna always rewrite it to make it look right for the screen. I said X-Men lore, the backstory, the spine, everything that makes X-Men X-Men. What makes X-Men X-Men isn't just like Cyclops, the 5 people that you want to pick, because that's not X-Men for everyone. When I was reading X-Men, Wolverine was already on the team. But they had a history. Again, even in that movie, there was a history. That wasn't the first day that where did they started X-Men from? Not from them being in class. It started back from what is it? What is it? The concentration camps. There was a history that led up to it. They were already established. Mystique didn't just realize she had powers. Storm didn't just realize she was already in America. We knew she was from Africa. Technically speaking, they say in the comics she was born here and went back home because one of her parents was American, her other parent was Kenyan. Then she moved over there when she was young and grew up there. Technically speaking, she was born in America, but that's neither here nor there. You could just even in that, you could say, hey, Storm was born in Africa. I didn't. That doesn't mean that you changed up X-Men lore. Yeah, you might have changed up certain story plot points and whatnot, but that doesn't change the lore. The lore of X-Men is mutants being hated by human beings. There is no indication of that at all in the MCU as it stands. So unless you're making their coming out party now, and the X gene is just starting to come out now, you divorce yourself from a lot of the lore. Yeah, you could say, this is what I'm saying. We could say X-Men, if you want to say, oh, hey, they saying in passing, mutants. Yeah, mutants. We're around. Oh, okay. You can't have Sentinels now because people could not have known they even existed. So you have to now begin the hate of humans for X-Men. And then now you'd have to start off the X gene, or if you're saying the X gene has always been around, I don't know when no one's noticed them going through, because part of the lore is when they hit puberty, it happens. Then people know who they are. People fear them. That's the X-Men lore. People hate what they do not understand. You literally have to start the X gene popping up now to have that as its core base. Or you divorce that and just to have mutants. We say, hey, mutants were always around. And then you don't have that. And then you have to start the hate from mutants to super, and it gets a little convoluted, because why are you worried about them when you already had superheroes running around for the past 15 years already? So why are you afraid of mutants? You got this juiced up Captain America already. You see, it opens up a lot of questions. That's all I'm saying. Like, you literally have to redo the lore. for it to work in their universe. Because why would people have an issue with mutants when you have the Hulk walking around already? Where would the fear of mutants come from? The Sokovia? That's what I'm talking about. You'd really divorce yourself from the lore of who X-Men were. X-Men were like the black people to white people. Black. I mean, we already know about it. This is the civil rights movement all over again. But black people always around. You gotta say, hey, there's no. It's almost like saying, hey, Wolverine takes a. I've always been black, and then no one noticed that black people were popping up. Like no one noticed this already, or they're just popping up today. You know what I'm saying? And now you could do the lore of humans hating them. But if you already had the Black Hulk looking like a black man, then it'd be like, well, why are we afraid of them? But we weren't really afraid of this motherfucker who was really leveling city. Like it would really not. You see what I'm saying now? It's like, how you afraid of this black guy who can't do what the Hulk does? And the Hulk been running around tearing shit up, looking like a black guy. Now we hate black people. But what about the Hulk the whole time? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. So you lose that civil rights thing that's the core of the X-Men. Them being the next genetic launch from humanity. If you're already showing that people were already making their superhero serum already, and they already had these supers running around saving the world and destroying it at the same time, then why would anyone give a damn about an X gene? That's my point. Because that is X-Men. People hating them for who they are. Hating them because the mismanagement of their powers. Because this is who they are. I didn't choose this. I don't jump in a suit. I didn't get hit with, this is who I am. That's a deep, intense story. You don't just shoehorn that. Unless you're just gonna make it you divorce yourself a lot of X-Men lore. Again, like, you can't escape it. For them to be in the MCU as it stands, you'd have to divorce yourself from a lot of things that come out of X-Men lore. And unless your argument is that the majority audience wouldn't give a damn because they never read the book, then I'd say, hey, maybe you'd have a point. But again, it doesn't take away what I'm saying. You'd literally have to divorce yourself from a lot of X-Men lore. And I'm not talking, when I say X-Men lore, I don't mean the teams. You could do that with any of the teams. The X-Men are offshoot of the idea of the mutants. And if you have a muddled idea of the mutants and what made them want to be X-Men, then you kind of lose a lot of the lore. Then they'll just be superheroes with powers for all of that. Why don't we just say, hey, Wolverine just had, you make your own version of Wolverine. He had the serum, and they put adamantium in him, and this is just how Wolverine is. Storm, she got her powers from one of the crystals, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing.
I mean, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that you can't write an interest in X-Men. You lose a lot of X-Men lore, and then you find yourself in the same possible position that a lot of people have, that even most of the naysayers that hate Man of Steel, if you really get in their ass, they'll be like, well, it's a good movie, but it's not a good Superman movie. Then you're going to have that issue. And you can say, hey, that's just a small demographic. You see, that small demographic ruined the franchise. Damn near ruined the franchise. That's what I'm saying. And that might not go over well in narrative unless you make them a whole other kind of X-Men. And that's what I'm saying. Like, then it'd be like you finally got the X-Men characters, and when you finally could actually do the X-Men lore, just to force them in the MCU, you just got rid of a lot of X-Men lore because we had to have them in the MCU. Then are you serving the character or are you serving the MCU? I leave it to you to have your final thoughts on that. That's all I was saying.
Like I said, I'm not disagreeing. I just think that, like I said, for me, like I said, the original question was, what do I feel about the MCU in, the X-Men and MCU? And like I said, I'll stick with my original. I don't see an issue with it. I welcome them coming in, and how they introduce them. We'll go down that road and we'll see what happens then. But I really have no issue with them being in the MCU. I think there is a way to introduce them and keep some of the lore. I think that there's a way you can do it. Do I know the way? I don't. But I don't think that there's a problem with. But to be honest, I don't think there's a problem with anyone being in the MCU. I really don't. I think as long as you have a plan and you execute it right and you make a good film, I get it. And I get what you're saying about the whole lore of it. And I still think you can keep some of the lore too. I think it can get done. I think it can be done. I know that what you say is, I think that especially when it comes to movies, we play around with it so much. Like I said, even with X-Men, yeah, the lore is them being like the black people. But again, we watched the first X-Men film. That was the original team. Even First Class wasn't really the original team. We keep playing around with it.
But I think the lore was the same.
But I said the lore, but the fact that we can keep playing around with it, I think there's a way it can be done. And I don't think it's going to make things, I don't think it's that complicated. I really don't. But we'll just leave it at that.
All right. Say no more.
We'll just leave it at that.
And the haircut. What were your thoughts on the haircut?
I did see his picture.
And its significance.
To be completely honest, and it's weird because I didn't like Suicide Squad. Let me just put that on the table.
Mm-hmm.
So I might be a little biased because I really didn't like Suicide Squad at all. I really didn't. So I don't really know what the haircut could do to really make me interested. I really don't. It's different with Justice League, where I don't think it was a bad movie. So the Snyder cut is a different story because I don't think Justice League was a bad movie. I think that personally, Suicide Squad is one of DCEU's worst movies, and to me, Suicide Squad is one of the worst comic book movies ever made.
Okay, that's intense.
I don't like the movie at all, and I was actually one of the people who was very much excited to see it. But I do not like the Suicide Squad movie at all. So what his cut is going to bring, unless his cut is a completely different movie, and even when I saw how his first vision of Enchantress was, I wasn't impressed. So, I mean, that's just kind of where I am with the haircut. And again, I have to be real honest, because I didn't like the first movie at all. I don't know if there's anything that interests me. I honestly, if I had to list my worst superhero movies ever, I actually think Ben Affleck's Daredevil is better than Suicide Squad. I think Elektra was a better movie.
I still haven't seen Elektra.
Okay, I actually think Thor: The Dark World was better. To be honest, I think Suicide Squad for me is the. I mean, unless you want to, we'll take away Christopher Reeve's last Superman movie, which was like Superman 3 with Richard Pryor or something like that. Let's just take that out. But if we do in the last...
No, that wasn't the last one. I think that was Superman 3 was Richard Pryor. The one was with he fought the guy from the sun.
Yeah, well, I thought that was terrible. The one with Richard Pryor was terrible. But, you know, taking those out, if we do in the last 20 years, yeah, we'll do the last 20 years. So that would be 1990 to 2020, right? No, that'd be 30 years, right?
Yeah, that'd be 30 years.
Okay, so let's do 2000, right, to 2020. In the last 20 years, all those superhero movies that have come out, I think Suicide Squad is the worst movie I've ever. It's the worst superhero movie I've ever seen. I think it's the worst.
That's a bold. That's a real bold statement. But
I can be honest with you right now. Thinking now, I can't think of in the last 20 years. So we're doing 2000 to 2020. I can't think of a superhero movie that I think was worse.
I mean, that's a bold statement. I mean,
there's
movies I would throw out there for you just to see if you're serious. But I'm not here to test you. I mean, I feel you. I mean, I'm just surprised. The worst.
I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna say it again.
I mean, I believe you. I'm just saying it's just like because a lot of people shit on a lot of other movies.
Let me clarify what I'm saying. In the last 20 years, from 2000 to 2020, I cannot think of a superhero movie, whether it be MCU, DCEU, Hellboy, which is not either one of those, Transformers. That includes Transformers. Anything that has to do with superheroes or anything like that. I cannot think of, at this moment, I cannot think of a single superhero movie. And I'm lumping in Transformers and Hellboy and all those things.
Well, I actually like Hellboy. Wait, which Hellboy? All the Hellboys?
No, yeah, what I mean by lumping them in is just as in I'm lumping them in as a superhero movie.
Well, all the Hellboys individually, yeah.
Right. So, because when we say superhero, we think DCEU and Marvel. And
no. I'm talking about all of them. I mean, when you say Hellboy, I mean not the characters.
Right. That's right. That's why even through Transformers, as we speak right now, from the last 20 years, 2000 to 2020. I cannot honestly think of a movie that I think is worse than Suicide Squad. I can't think of one. And there's a lot on the list that I can't stand. I really hate Transformers The Last Night, and I still found that better than Suicide Squad. And the only reason I said that because for a brief moment in my head, I'm like, yeah, that's a movie I really couldn't stand. And even that I found more enjoyable than Suicide Squad. So when it comes to the David Ayer cut, I'm biased because part of me is like, I really don't care because I don't really think that, I don't think you got something in a different cut that's really going to change anything for me. I really don't. See, the difference with the Snyder cut is I don't hate Justice League. So because I don't hate Justice League, and I find redeeming things in it, okay, maybe you got something different. But to be honest, I don't like nothing in Suicide Squad. So whatever cut you have, you got the same actors, you got a lot of the same stuff. So you would have to literally give me a completely different movie.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Justice League is shaping up to be a completely different film. And I follow that, but I do that on the channel for Road to the Snyder Cut. But that's neither in the day.
That's why I stand on it. I'll let you go. You can have the final word because that's why I stand on it.
I mean, no real final word on it for me other than I'm interested. I like movies.
Yeah.
I like movies. Give me a movie. I like to see it, and I'm very interested in it. Hey, look, man, that was one of my most anticipated movies that year. I liked Suicide Squad. I was still disappointed because I expected so much more from it. There was just so much I expected from Suicide Squad that left me still like, dang, man, I thought it was gonna be way better. And I'm mad that I didn't get enough Joker because I've seen clips of the Joker that we've never seen on screen, and the fact that Jared Leto said that you could damn near do a whole movie with the shit that I had recorded, I'm fascinated. I mean, he's not Jared Leto is not no bullshit actor.
No, not at all.
You know, so for me, I'm just interested. I like movies. Give me a movie. I love comic book movies. Yo, if you got another version of it, hey, I'm all for it.
I'll watch it, of course. I'll watch. I'm a comic book fanatic, so I'll watch. Make no mistake, I'm a comic book fan. So I'm a movie fan. So if you thought an air cut, even though I have no interest, I'll watch it. And if you surprise me, that's great. And like you, I'll be honest with you. And everybody, and I've always been really honest. I'm a comic book fan, but I was never a DC comic book fan. But and I never was. I mean, Marvel. I was raised reading Marvel comics, so I'm not a DC comic book fan. But Suicide Squad was a highly anticipated movie for me, like you. When I read about it, when I saw the first trailer, I was very much interested in Suicide Squad. As just a film and just getting to understand that. And when I went to the movie theater, like I do, I was excited. And through the movie, I said, what is this? At the middle of the movie, I said, what the hell is this? And then when the movie was over, I said, what the hell is this? But yeah, if Air puts out a different cut, I will gladly watch it. And if you can change my mind, great. But as it stands now, like I said, I even more now stand by my statement. In the last 20 years, I can't think of a superhero movie that was worse.
That's
a
bold statement. That's a bold statement. No, of course for you. I mean, I'm just thinking about all the movies that people say that are horrible, from Aang's Hulk, which I liked, but some people think that shit is horrible. Then you got the last Hellboy that just came out, which I didn't get a chance to see. It looked like it was horrible. I heard it was horrible. I like the first two Hellboys, but no one shits on that. There's just so many movies that even Fan Four Stick, which I don't care what anyone says. I actually like Fan Four Stick. I ain't seen it in a minute, but I liked Fan Four Stick. I go for up to a point, it just goes off the rail. But the first two acts of the film actually was engaging for me. It was, but like I said, these are movies people all across the board pan. And just to hear that you say the biggest standout, and obviously I'm sure if we bust our brains, and there's no need to have to bust your brains over it, but the fact that that's the first thing that you come to in the first 20 years that's you just straight up don't like, that's powerful. That's powerful. I mean, I'll let you have it, man. But final thoughts on the haircut?
If it comes out, I'll definitely watch it. I definitely watch it out. Like I said, it's not something I'm interested in, but if it comes out, I definitely will watch it. You know, and I will root for. And believe me, I'm always rooting for a movie to be good, because rooting for a movie to be bad just means I wasted my time.
Yeah, I never understood
that. For a movie to be good.
I never really quite understood. I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say I understood it. Didn't understand it, but I really don't understand wanting to see a movie fail. I get it and I don't get it.
I don't get it.
I mean, because I understand tribalism. You know what it is? I understand tribalism enough to see why people could, Marvel, DC, I remember, but
let's put it this way.
With comic books, like I don't know. Like I said, let's put it this way. Your thoughts?
You know how we were talking in the beginning, introducing ourselves, and you talked about you would love to go to the movies, but money, right?
I mean, that's been one of the reasons why I didn't go to the theaters a lot.
So to me, wishing a movie is bad is you just wasted your money.
Yeah, that's a fact.
That's how I look at it. So why would I spend $20 on a ticket? Maybe if I get food. So let's say it's $30 to $40, and then just a 2-hour time. You just wasted 2 hours of your time, and you wasted about $30, $40 on to hope to have a bad experience. I don't understand that thought process.
You know what it is? I think
I would rather go to a movie like The Haircut. I would rather go to a movie and say, I'm watching because I like movies, but I have no interest in it and leave the movie and go, wow. I had no interest in that movie, but wow.
Oh yeah, I'd hope people would be that way when they go to the movies.
Now, I will say this. I did say that I think Suicide Squad is the worst one I've seen. I haven't seen Birds of Prey. So maybe
this was your olive branch, sir.
That might change my mind.
I actually see Birds of Prey, and I haven't done a review on the channel yet. I've been meaning to.
So that might change my mind. So I'll just
you know what? I am very interested on what you think. Your thoughts on Birds of Prey. That would be very
Matter
interesting.
of fact, you know what? For the audience and you, because I have Amazon, I will watch Birds of Prey tomorrow.
It's on Amazon?
Yeah.
You know what? They did say some of the movies were licensed elsewhere before they came over to whatchamacallit.
Yeah. So it's on Amazon. It's like $3 to rent. So for the audience, and for you, tomorrow, which is already Saturday, in the morning, I will watch Birds of Prey.
Okay.
I will watch Birds of Prey.
Okay.
Because I always see it when I go to Amazon. I always think about it. I never do, but since we did bring up this conversation, I will watch Birds of Prey, and I'll be out it's Saturday now. So in the next 8 hours, I'll watch Birds of Prey.
Depending on how I feel, I might give it a watch too and get the review out the way. I might actually I might do the Pepsi challenge. I might do the Pepsi challenge and give that one a shot. Again, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna crap on it. I like movies anyway, so I could watch it. But if you're gonna sit here and tell me, yo, like I could watch Joel Schumacher's Batman, but I look at that as not an offshoot of Tim Burton's per se. I look at it as a mashup, the bastard child between Tim Burton and what Adam West's variation. If they was to have a child, that would be the Schumacher's universe. And I hope and I don't say that with negativity.
Maybe that George Clooney one was worse than Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But that's before 2000.
Oh yeah.
But that's before 2000.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that is.
2000.
Yeah, I mean it's still. I mean, that's still within the range of what you say. I mean, I wouldn't be that bold personally, but it's not about what I think, so it doesn't really matter. But all right, that's your final word. Let's go into Bill and Ted real quick because this is going to be a fascinating one. And we're almost at the end of this, but I really am curious to know what you think, but I'm going to let you have most of this. For me, I just did the review after I sent you the notes and everything of what we were going to do for this episode. You'll see that when I had that one uploaded, but in small part, in just the idea of Bill and Ted being back, and are we excited? Man, I'll be honest with you. A wise man once said a trailer is supposed to boost your enthusiasm. Shout out to you, good sir. You know who you are, Mr. Campia. But I thought that was always a smart way of approaching a trailer, because a trailer is supposed to actually garner interest.
Yeah.
And before I watched it, I like Bill and Ted. I like the movies. Before I watched it, I didn't really see a reason. It wasn't the ending to the trilogy I was hoping for years, to be quite honest. I mean, George Carlin died, you know, and even though it's not Bill and Ted and George Carlin, I felt like he brought a lot to it. And it's been so far along, and us losing him, I was like, I didn't know what story you had to tell. That being said, if there's a story to tell, I'm here for the bullshit. I watched the trailer. Not gonna lie, I smiled. I smiled during the trailer. I smiled during the trailer. Cannot lie, I smiled during the trailer. I ain't go for it. Without the beard, and I don't know if that was the makeup, but whatchamacallit looked mad old. Keanu Reeves looked mad old. He
Oh,
looks
he's over
younger.
50.
He looks younger in oh shit, the last movies he was doing,
Oh, John Wick.
the John Wicks. So it was
Yeah.
just like,
But
okay.
also in Bill and Ted, John Wick, he's an assassin. The more in Bill and Ted, supposedly he's a stoner.
I
He's
mean,
a
that's why I
black.
said I didn't know if it was the makeup and they made him look like that. I mean, I don't know, or maybe just seeing him acting like that character. I don't know, but it just looked like it was makeup. Don't get me wrong, the other guy looked older, but he didn't look as. It just looked like the age really stood out to me, or Keanu Reeves, because he's always looked pretty good for his age, and he's far up there. I mean, not that far up there, but he's far up there to not look his age. So this was the first time he actually looked his age to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was kind of jarring. But other than that, and they brought the guy that did Death. That's the same guy, and I thought that was cool. I found it kind of charming. I don't know. I like and when it was all Biffington at the end, I was like, it seemed very Bill and Ted esque
Well,
to me. And if that's what you're going for, it looked like they were drawing from the right pool. It looked like I'm wondering if they got the same writers.
Maybe or someone similar. This is what I'll say, and I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I never saw Bill and Ted movie, and there's two of them. I know there's two of them. I never saw Bill and Ted movie. Not that I wasn't interested in. Sometimes some things just pass you. Some things just pass. I found the trailer cute. What I did was I went back and looked at the trailer for the first two. I think it keeps the same.
Oh, you went back and looked at it.
At the first two trailers, because I've never seen the movie.
Okay. Oh, all
So
right.
I just went back to look at the first two trailers just to get kind of a sense.
No, I feel you. That makes sense.
So what I will say is this: the trailer keeps the same, and the word I'll use is the same tone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that they did. That they did.
So it seems very consistent.
That's a good way.
What Bill and Ted is, or since we love this word when we talk about superhero movies, it seems to keep the continuity.
It seems so. It seems, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I found it cute. I found the trailer cute, and like I said, from watching the first two trailers of the previous one to this one, it seems like something that, wow, it's been how long since the last one? And let's put it this way. Martin Lawrence and Will Smith were able to do it after 17 years. Like after 17 years, they were able to do it. I think Bill and Ted could do it too.
I did you see the new Dumb and Dumber?
Well, I saw obviously the original classic with Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, and then there was another one after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was horrible. That was horrible.
Did I see that? I don't even think I seen that one. That was like how they met each other. That was how Harry met.
Yeah, and it was just. I found the movie horrible.
But you saw the new one.
What new one?
You didn't know that they brought out Dumb and Dumber again?
Is it with Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels?
Yeah, you didn't know that was last year. I didn't see it. That's what I was gonna ask you. I thought that's where you was going.
That movie came out.
Yeah.
Or they made it.
No, they made it and it came out. I know I'm not bugging. That movie came out.
I think that the movie never.
Because remember they had a whole promo run online. I mean, not even just online. It was on talk shows and stuff.
No, I think you're mistaken because everybody's been talking about Jim Carrey's first movie in years being Sonic the Hedgehog.
No. They did another Dumb and Dumber. I know this. Maybe
they filmed it, but that movie it never was released.
No, it came out. That was last. That came out. I swear it came out last year. All right. Sidebar. We'll talk about this afterwards. I swear the shit came out already. But I guess my question to you, real quick, before we move on to the final topic of the day, is Did you see the first two film trailers before you saw the third one? My question, the reason why I'm asking is I really want to know, did your experience with the trailer, if you seen it first independently before you seen anything else, the new one, how did you feel? Or before you had to watch the other two to see if it was consistent, or did you watch the first two before you seen?
No, I watched this. I watched the new trailer for the new movie first.
Okay, and what did you think before you had to look back at it?
I just thought it was cute.
Okay.
Like it wasn't something that I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to see. I just thought, oh, this is cute. You know, it seemed cute. It seemed cute and silly and fun.
Mm.
And you know what's funny? It seemed like what we were just talking about, Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. They're in that type of vein.
That's what it seemed like. It didn't give me the, oh my god, I can't wait to see it, or I want to see it. It was kind of one of those, if I go to the movie and see it, great. But if I miss that one, it's not a big thing to me. But after watching, I was like, oh, this is cute, this is interesting. And then I just said, well, it's been so many years, let me go just look up the trailer for the first two. Just to get it, and I just wanted to get a sense of the movie because I never saw them. And then watching the first one, then watching the second one, I was like, oh, well, it seems very consistent. It just seems very consistent. Like, it seemed like they know their audience. Because they know their audience, they know what they're going for, and that was it. And like I said, I don't remember what's this span of years between, and I'm pretty sure, to be completely honest, if Bad Boys was a 17-year gap, Bill and Ted's got to be over 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's got to be well over 20. Like
25 years?
Maybe 30 years. Because if Keanu Reeves is over 50 now, yeah, he probably was maybe 25, maybe.
Yeah. That's why I said 25, like a little over 25 years. I feel like the last Bill and Ted came out maybe in like 93 to 95.
Now the question with that is there an audience for Bill and Ted? Like there always was an audience for Bad Boys. There always was an audience. Yes, nobody thought Bad Boys would be as big. Bad Boys 3 would be as big as a hit as it was, because it was a big hit. And I'm also talking financially. It was a big hit. And I don't think nobody thought it'd be as big as it was. But there was always an audience for Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett. The question is there...
Man, you knew his last name. Damn, Marcus Burnett.
Yeah. No, I always remember the names, yeah. And you know, I really liked Bad Boys. I
always remember Mike Lowry, but like Marcus Burnett, you really remember his last name, but okay.
Yeah. Like I said, I really enjoyed the movie. And I'm someone who I really loved the first. I did not like the second one.
You didn't like the second one? I liked the second one.
I thought the second one was just action and steroids.
Yeah, it was, and it worked.
It worked. I think that's what it was. I think that it was a lot of action, but I thought the second one had no real story. And I thought it lacked the heart. I thought what Bad Boys 3 did was Bad Boys 3 had a certain heart to it, and the way they incorporated their both aging and evolution plus action. I just thought Bad Boys 1 to me is a classic, and I thought Bad Boys 3 was a great follow-up. I thought Bad Boys 2 was yo, let's get bigger guns, bigger explosions. That's it. And try to throw some jokes in between. But there was no real story. It was just, yo, let's just blow it up.
I'd have to concur.
It was the Man of Steel with jokes.
I'd have to concur. Man, the Man of Steel. I'd concur.
With jokes. Let's just blow it up. That's it.
I'd concur.
Okay, let's get to the last one.
Of the DCU EU fandom. That's gonna be basically an online con. Basically, because I mean, obviously, with all things considering, exactly. But it's supposed to be a lot of fandom. But I feel like this is more for, even though actually it'd be a lie to say it was more for, but I think a lot of this push for it is also with the Snyder Cut, to bring the Snyder Cut and everything that's DCEU all together underneath one house, to let it be. It's almost like supporting each other. That's how I'm looking at it. It's a smart thing, but I do feel like we already know what's going to be the big thing that's pushing it.
Oh yeah,
It's gonna be the Snyder Cut. So, and I believe they're gonna have a lot of YouTubers that supporters. I believe I might have even talked to you about, like, I remember conversing with someone on Twitter that was part of it that actually asked me, yo, if you're a YouTuber, hey, you know, because we're trying to get as much as, well, not as much, but see all the people that we have, and they were going to make their selections, which was interesting. So they're going to actually have a lot. Basically, my thing is, it's going to be a lot more fan participation. A lot more fan participation in this one. And for me, before I'll let you have most of it, or if not all of it, I'm obviously going to be excited more for the Snyder Cut, but not just that, because I'm glad we finally got that. And I've already been following and geeking up about it from before. I think the biggest shine for me is to see Snyder back with everyone, all things DC. Because now it's not going to be like, hey, I'm not trying to undercut you. Yeah, I mean, we already know that this is a big experiment. This is a big fucking experiment on a lot of levels that we'll have just a show just to discuss about. But I think it's showing, it's a way for the DCEU to present itself to the audience and to the fans, the pre-existing fans, and even just the disposable fans, that this is what we're doing. They're going to give a lot of information. I believe they may even drop the Suicide Squad trailer, the James Gunn's version.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think they may discuss the air cut, but the air cut is something that they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna be talking about until they see how the Zack Snyder's Justice League goes off. But I'm really looking forward to see what they do with Suicide Squad. What are the conversations? Because it seems like they actually have an idea where the Flashpoint is going, but I still think that's tied to the success of the Justice League Snyder Cut. So for me, a lot of things I'm not exactly sure, because it's so tied to. I'm positive it's tied to how well people receive this. Because if it's received well, I really feel like they're going to do a lot of things that's going to be coming behind it. That's why I feel like they're hedging their bets with all these multiverse ideas. I think they're just hedging bets. But with that being said, just the fandom, I'm really curious to know what DC has in store, because they actually, behind the scenes, they've got what? They got the Robert Pattinson's, which I'm interested on more information about, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not as excited as everyone else. I'm not as excited, but it's Batman. It'll be there. Don't get me wrong, it will be there. It's just that this rendition of, with the information I got, I'm interested, but I'm not as enthused. But give me more information about this Pattinson. They also got this. I'm hoping that they're going to discuss the Aquaman 2, and if they're really going to still do the trench, because they were talking about that before that. And of course, I'm real big on figuring out what any more information on Wonder Woman 84. I'm here for the bullshit. That being said, I'm just excited just seeing DC feeling like, for the first time in a very long time, at least looking like they actually, I don't want to say have their house in order, but they're happy with what they have right now. I feel like that's where DC the energy is coming from, whether it's mostly being pumped through AT&T, who's bought it. It just seems like there's more positivity around this. And that's what I'm excited for. And I'm excited for the presentation. And all the possibilities, because there's so much talk from Michael Keaton to this to that. I'm here for the bullshit. Everything else is you.
Well, I'll say it this way. I think the whole interactive, the way they're doing it, I think it's a good idea, obviously, with the way things are with COVID and stuff like that. So I think that they found a way, like many, instead of just not having a Comic-Con or, I think that's a good idea. On your thing about getting the house in order, I will say simply this. I agree. I think DC has found its footing. I think they're starting to find their stride. And me, who's not a DC Comics fan, I'm a movie fan and I love superheroes. And I've always said this. I don't even like the character Superman. I never liked him growing up. I don't like DC Comics. But Man of Steel, I think, is one of the best superhero movies I've ever seen in my life.
That's a fact.
I just like to throw that out.
For me too.
And that goes from a guy who not only does not like DC Comics, never liked Superman. But I will say that Man of Steel, to me, is one of the greatest superhero movies I've ever seen. Hands down, period. So let me go back to what I was saying. So I think the whole fandom con where people I think that's a great idea. I think the reason why DC has got their footing is one simple reason. They're not trying to change the MCU. I think that people looked at what the MCU did, and it was a rush. Okay, now we got Wonder Woman. We got this. Let's do a Justice League. I think that was. I think what they're doing now. I think they found their stride. You know what, Kevin Feige, you boys got your thing. Let's do our thing. Whether it be just standalone movies, Joker, Robert Pattinson's Batman. Now you still have the ones that connect, like Wonder Woman and Aquaman. But I think that they found their footing, and I think that's good. And I wish them all success, because I'm a true believer in all tides. What is it? All tides rise boats, or whatever that saying is. It's just good for everyone.
All tides rise, all ships, some shit. I know.
Yeah, something like that. But again, so I'm not with the whole Marvel's better. This was listen. I want all of you guys to succeed, because the more you guys succeed, it means I'm just going to get more superhero movies. And I get to live my childhood again, being a superhero fan. So I'm glad that they found their footing. What I do find interesting is this, though.
Okay.
So this is what I find interesting, because you brought up the Snyder Cut. And I guess it's kind of karma in a way. Okay. Now, you know more about the story than I do. But so just follow me. Zack Snyder started this whole DCEU with Man of Steel, correct?
That's a fact.
Okay, now, most people panned Man of Steel. It was a disappointment to the masses, we would say.
Oh, what they would say,
right?
Divisive.
Right, divisive. So let's just follow, right? So now Zack Snyder's gone. Well, we found a hit with Wonder Woman. Now, Wonder Woman made 800, 900 million, and then we got our first Billy Goat with Aquaman, right?
Yeah.
And then Justice League was a brick.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a brick. It wasn't a brick.
I heard it was like their lowest.
No, it's not actually. Shazam is the lowest. They expected in terms of profit, because they put more money.
Didn't even turn a profit.
Like I said, in terms of profit, it was on the very low end. It might have even broke even, because they pumped even more movie just to trim it down and do the reshoots, because they had to do extensive reshoots. So that's what effed up their profit margin. But at 600 and I think it was 600, a little over 600 million. That's not a flop. It just, it may be a financial flop. You may argue financial flop, but that's not a flop. Like out and out, people came to see the movie.
It all depends on what you consider flop. I consider financial flop a flop. If you don't break even, you flop. Like that's kind of how I look at it. But again, that's a separate conversation.
But you also got to take into consideration that they put even double the money into it. So like that. That's a little bit of a.
At the end of the day, whether you double the money and reshoots, whatever, that's still what you spent to get the movie out.
That's a fact.
That's still what you spent. So again, I'm just for argument's sake, they laid a brick. Zack Snyder's gone, right? But you still have Wonder Woman, Patty Jenkins, and you have James Wan, of horror fame, the Jason Blumhouse crew from that fame doing.
Wait a second, he was with Jason Blumhouse?
Yeah. Jason Blum found him.
Oh,
Jason
you know what?
Blum,
You're right.
yeah.
You're right. All right. Yeah.
So I'm just saying. So you got Wonder Woman, which was the first female who was almost a Billy Goat, Gal Gadot, and then of course directed by Patty Jenkins, Oscar-winning director.
Thank you.
Charlie
That's why
Theron,
she just she directed Charlize Theron her first Oscar.
But critically acclaimed director, we'll say. Right, did Wonder Woman, and you got James Wan who did Aquaman, right? So those are the big stars, right? You know what I find interesting though? You see what I find it interesting that the guy who started all of that was panned and somehow kind of kicked out. He's now the rock star again. Because I find that even with Patty Jenkins and Wonder Woman and Aquaman 2, I find that Zack Snyder's cut is the rock star. That's what we all want. So I just find it.
How about that?
I find a good. Oh, so you did follow where I was going.
I see what you're saying.
I find a good karma that the way, and again, I don't know the behind the scenes, the way Zack Snyder started and left, and everybody else was taking the shine. I find that now that we're coming into this space where the DCEU is starting to find their footing, Zack Snyder's the rock star again. He's the rock star again. Like, we're talking more about the Snyder Cut, which I think from what I heard, is not coming out till HBO Max 2021. We're talking more about that than Wonder Woman 1984, which is coming out this October. I guarantee you, the thing you're talking about, the very last thing you're probably going to get a Suicide Squad trailer. You're probably going to hear about Wonder Woman 1984. You'll hear an announcement about Aquaman. You'll hear something about Batman. Even with Batman, you'll hear something about that.
Yeah. I think they're going to have something for Batman. I don't know if they have a trailer for it, though.
But the very last thing you're going to see, I guarantee you, before we say, hey, this meeting is over, you're all waiting. The very last thing you're going to see is something from the Snyder Cut. That's what we're waiting for. So I just find a certain karma in that his trajectory right now at this moment, he's the rock star again. And this guy that we kind of panned him.
Now he's the man again.
It's almost the guy who's leading the way again.
Yeah, I know. I see exactly what you're saying. I actually see exactly what you were saying. The guy that started it, that y'all all shitted on, now he's the guy everyone can't stop talking about now.
And remember, he's the guy that, here's the funny thing, he's the guy that, with Justice League, it still says Zack Snyder's the director, and we kind of shitted on him for Justice League, but his same movie is going to save the day. There's a certain karma in this that I find very tickling. It's the same movie. The movie that you panned, oh my God, he fucked up Justice League. It's Zack Snyder's Justice League cut that's going to lead the way. I just find that so.
It's poetic. I think is it the term called poetic justice?
Yeah, that's it. It's poetic justice. Like, I really thought about that, and when you brought up the whole, we really want to know about the Snyder Cut, I really thought about, like, he did Superman. It was divisive. Matter of fact, he did Batman v Superman, which was also divisive.
Actually, I forgot how people normally say it. They say Batman. They say Man of Steel didn't do what they expected, but it was BVS that was divisive, highly divisive.
Right, BVS was the divisive one, and then, like I said, but then it was Patty Jenkins is going to save the day because Wonder Woman became the rock star. She was the one.
Yeah.
So Patty Jenkins became the rock star. I mean, she was so much the rock star that people were saying, give her
the yeah. And I remember we talked about that privately.
And then, right, we talked about that, but then Justice League comes out. And Justice League, well, we already know what happened. It came and went. And then, of course, Zack Snyder had some personal issues, but still, he still took the brunt of what was wrong with Justice League. He took the brunt of it.
Yeah.
You know, when you watch Justice League, it says directed by Zack Snyder. Like, it doesn't say Joss Whedon, it says Zack Snyder. So he took the brunt of it. So I just find it so interesting, and poetic justice, that as we move out of COVID and rebuilding, that it's the same director and the same exact movie. Obviously, it's not the same movie, but it's the Justice League movie that you planned, that you're all highly anticipated to see, and he's leading the charge. It's not, Wonder Woman's not leading the charge. And Aquaman, that's the Billy Goat, is not leading the charge. It's the guy you panned. He's leading the charge. I just find that interesting.
I'll be honest with you, just the way you even presented it, again, it goes back to that saying, poetic justice.
Yeah.
And it goes back to something that we talked about from, I said before, and I can probably walk away with this, and this kind of goes into what I was saying from like different ideas and stuff. One thing I like, and you even brought up chasing MCU. I always understood what he said when he said, yo, DC is not playing around. We're not making jokes. And I know they were taking a little shots at MCU, like, you know, David Ayer came out and said, fuck the MCU. But those were actually, I'll be honest with you, I really looked at that as legit, just fun shit talking. No one really took it serious. Like, they didn't mean like, yo, we riding on them. It was like, yeah, we here to compete.
Yeah.
But we're doing our own thing. But we got our own. This is what you're doing. We got something. We coming with that whole other shit. And instead of like I like the fact that they was like, you know what, they're going to do their version with levity, this, that, and the third. We're just going to be more artist driven, director driven, but mostly importantly, they were really aiming for mature. They wanted to take it from the comics, and to be honest, a lot of these comics were mature. They was just like, nah, we're going to. If these guys existed, how would they look? David Ayer, back in the day, they were mobs. That's how the street life and the gang life looked. Mob suits and ties. That's what they came from. This day and age, what are they? Gangs now. So guess what? We updated them, and it was, even though it might have been jarring for some, to be honest, it was very interesting. It was like, yo, you going. Okay, well, what you got for me? Now we're going to be adult. We're not going to shy away from getting an R rating. We don't care about that. We're making a movie. And however this movie goes, that's where we want to go. I thought that was refreshing. I thought that was very refreshing.
You know what's funny? It's interesting to me, and that's a separate conversation, and I don't want to get into it. But for me, you know, I think the MCU found its formula, but this whole idea that the DC movies are more mature and all that, I don't see it. I never really saw that. I to be honest, I don't see the maturity that was in Suicide Squad or Aquaman or Wonder Woman.
I'm talking about from where Snyder started from.
Right, but I'm just saying.
Snyder, you got to remember, you're talking from.
I get what you're saying.
Because Aquaman is an MCU movie.
Right. So was Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman.
Nah, not really.
I think Wonder Woman.
I think they took a lot of the Disney idea of the princess, the Disney princess idea, but I felt like they took that idea and kind of put it in a grounded. As grounded as they could until they started really getting fantastical with the ancient gods.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If you slap the title Marvel's Wonder Woman and gave the exact same movie, it fit right in.
I
For me,
disagree.
I don't see nothing in that style that I don't see. If you were to put Marvel's Wonder Woman and gave the exact same movie, you just slap Marvel on top of it, and it was an MCU movie, the exact same movie, it fit right in. I didn't see nothing that was different. I really didn't. I didn't see nothing. The only now I will give Man of Steel. Man of Steel was different. I do think Man of Steel was different. And you know what? Batman v Superman, there was a different vibe to it. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't see nothing different in Suicide Squad than from an MCU movie. I didn't see nothing different in Wonder Woman or Aquaman or even Justice League. If you would have stuck Marvel's Justice League and gave the same movie, yeah, the same thing. Yeah, the same exact movie. So when people keep talking about these,
Well, Justice League, obviously, you could tell because Justice League, you could tell that was in Snyderverse again. That's what I'm saying. That was
but what I'm
a
just
lot
saying
of the
is
movies.
when we talk
I'm
about the
just saying,
DC,
outside of Wonder Woman, though, all the movies that you found your correlation were outside of the Snyderverse, which goes right back to my point. Now we may differ on the Wonder Woman, but for the most part, yeah, from outside of Wonder Woman and Suicide Squad, I mean, like again, like for the most part, you could kind of see that they were aiming for a more mature audience, and I would still argue Suicide Squad, outside of the music and them going for that kind of aesthetic, nah, DC, Disney would not have made that movie.
yes,
Just
it was. It was a comedy.
it looks too much for them.
It
It
was a
looks too
comedy.
dark for them. It looks too dark for them.
It just looks dark because camera, and because the camera was shot dark. That
I'm,
movie's a comedy.
I
Even
mean,
the
no,
action sequences,
I'm not really
even
arguing
the
with
action,
you.
even the action
It's a little bit
sequences are
more
PG.
racier. It's just it's a different type of comedy though. Just because it's comedic doesn't mean that it's the same type of
I
comedy that would
even
fit.
even for me the action sequences were elementary.
Okay,
Like they were the shootouts. It was all elementary to me.
okay.
Like I said, the most risque thing was Harley Quinn's shorts. To me, that was the most risque adult thing was Harley Quinn's outfit. Outside of that, you'd have slapped Marvel's Suicide Squad. It was darker because it was just shot darker. You know, like the movie Seven.
No, I see
That
what you're
movie is
saying.
shot
I
dark.
mean, I see what
It's
you're
just shot
saying.
dark.
I see what you're saying. I mean, I you know
Now,
how I look
now,
at it is if
I will give you what you say. Snyder verse and his vision, I do. With Man of Steel and BVS, I will give it to you hands down. I saw a different vision. I saw a different tone. I saw a more, as you would say, adult. That's two movies, though. Everything else that came out after that, I don't see the difference between that and the MCU. I really don't. I think Wonder Woman, you could have literally slapped MCU on it. You had this Aquaman, you could have slapped it. Justice League, you could have slapped it. Suicide Squad. You could have put the title Marvel above all those movies, and it'd have fit right in. Now, BVS and Superman, that's different. You would have said, damn, this feels different. The other ones I just named, no, they don't feel different. They didn't feel different to me. So when people talk about this whole difference, I'd be like, well, I just named like, what, 6 movies? Out of the 6 I named, only 2 were different. So I don't really, percentage-wise, I don't see a difference, percentage-wise. I see 2 movies that I can honestly say, which were at the start, that I could be like, yeah, this is different. But I just named the 4 that came after. Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, Aquaman, Justice League.
But
Those are other...
T again. Your name outside of Wonder Woman, you're naming movies outside of Snyderverse.
But they do fall under DCU. Though.
No, understood. But that was Snyder was gone when they already did the when it was pushing that Aquaman, and Aquaman was his whole aesthetic. And I already said that's an MCU movie.
But what I'm agreeing with you. What I'm saying is, I'm just saying
from what he started. Oh yeah.
Like the start of it is different.
Yeah.
But what I'm just saying is they still fall under the all those movies fall under the DCEU.
I mean, I understand that. I mean,
But and the argument is always that DCEU is a more adult, more this, more
No,
this.
no. I see where we're wrong at. Nah, that was in the beginning. No one says that now. No one says that now.
That's what I'm saying. I'm going with what you said. I completely, listen to me. I'm agreeing with you. The start of it with Snyder was a different vision. I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. You can see it in the way it was shot, the action, the acting, the writing. Yo, Snyder's vision was a more adult, mature, grounded vision of superheroes. I completely, 100% agree with that. But what I'm saying is, if I take the totality of all the movies that fall under the title DCEU, all those superhero movies, which I just named the 6 of them.
No, I understand what you're saying. I mean, in retrospect, they more average out more towards MCU storytelling.
Right, so that's what you're saying. So what I'm saying is, when people say the DCEU is different because they're more adult, more this, I'm like, nah, we don't see that.
Well, I mean, I don't hear people saying that now. That's why I guess I got the disconnect. I think that's where my disconnect is.
Both know. No, you're right. Not now people are saying, but we both know that was the big thing.
But that was in the beginning when it was.
Right. So right. It was the beginning and when it was, and that was the 2 movies. And that's what I'm just saying. I'm just taking the total whole and going.
No, I understand what you're saying.
I'm just telling people, listen, man. I'm just telling you the total whole, and the total whole, the numbers don't add up. It adds up to these movies all look the same, except for those 2. Those 2 I can clearly give you. Snyder had a vision. He was going in a direction. When Snyder left, shit went a different direction. But then again, I don't know, because Justice League is kind of like an MCU movie, and that's still his movie.
No, it's not. That's why they call Zack Snyder. He don't. They just threw his name on it. He don't consider it his movie. That's why it don't count for me. And that's why everybody was like, "Well, I like Superman because Joss Whedon wrote him like that." That I heard from what I understood. From what I understand, a lot of that was Joss Whedon. A lot of that was Joss Whedon.
So we'll take Zach. We'll take Zach off of that. We'll take them off. So like I said, I will say this. Now, if you want to add in Joker, because that still is a DC character and that's a different movie, yeah, I give you that. That's an adult movie, and maybe Matt Reeves is Batman. So as we start pumping out more DCE movies, if it's different than MCU, then I'll be glad to say, yeah, they're going in a different direction.
Can I ask you this? If I may interject one thing.
Mm-hmm.
1989's Batman. You don't find that to be a more mature, especially for that time. I'm talking about the original one. I felt like that was a mature Batman. And 2 was mature Batman. Then they started kind of moonwalking it back.
Right.
And that's really what I found out. That's why I didn't know he got fired, but Tim Burton got fired because they went too far left because it was too dark for them. That was mature storytelling. And I think that needs to be said. That's one thing I like about they're not afraid to play with it.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think, wait, now this is where I'm going to ask an honest question, because maybe I have to go back and watch it. Do you find Tim Burton's movies more mature, like Zack Snyder, or you're saying that because it's shot differently?
No, it was more mature for that time.
I know for that time, but I don't think that Batman 1 is this big, mature, grounded adult movie.
I mean, I'm not adding any more sauce to it. I'm just saying it was just a mature. I'm not saying it's the most maturest for that time coming out of.
To be honest,
I mean, you can even argue that Superman 1 and 2 was kind of more mature.
You know what's funny? You took the words right out of my mouth, because I was about to tell you. I think Christopher Reeve's Superman 1, and especially number 2, those were more mature. Adult.
Yeah, and I'll say when you get into they 2, which is funny for them, the same reason. It's funny, yo. You know what? I'm gonna have to really rethink something now. It's funny how Batman 89 Follow Me and the Bat, the Cat, and the Penguin from the first director were more mature. They bounced him off of 3 to make these lighthearted ones, which ruined the whatchamacallit. And Donna went through the same thing, except that he had an issue on the second one, which, from what I understood, might have been shot back to back. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Well, I don't know.
But he had an issue with that. That's why there's a Donner cut of Superman 2. Because they said another director had to come in to finish part 2. And then years later, they did a Donner cut. That's why everybody was like, yo, well, if they did that was one of the arguments. Why should we wait forever for the Snyder cut like they did with the Donner? And that's why a lot of people, even in the circle of the Zack Snyder, the Snyder cut fan base, was discussing it. So it's funny how even with Donner, the last 2 tanked the franchise, so we couldn't see superhero films no more. Same thing with Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And they all started off more mature.
Yeah.
And what killed the franchise was it going goofy.
Yeah.
Or going lighter.
I think the only franchise which I think kept its maturity, and its maturity was probably Christopher Nolan's Batman.
I thought you was going to say Blade.
No, I was going to say Christopher Nolan's Batman, that trilogy, whether you like the last one or not.
I mean, I like the last one. I just say I'm not impressed with it. Like, it's not a masterpiece.
I think it didn't go goofy, as you would say. I don't think it did.
No, it didn't go goofy. It didn't go goofy.
Right, I think Christopher
I feel like he ran out of ideas.
You know what's funny?
I feel like he ran out of ideas or something.
But you know what's funny? When we talk about a grounded superhero, right? Follow me. That deals with adult issues and is more adult, right? Mature. I'm going to throw something out there right now, and I want you to really think about it. You ready?
I'm listening.
The Captain America trilogy. And I'm talking First Avenger. I'm talking First Avenger. Yeah. First Avenger, Winter Soldier.
Yo, you know me. I already told you how I felt about it, and I still like the first
But again, I'm telling you, when we say adult, grounded, mature, I think Captain America's, all 3 of them, Civil War, Winter Soldier, and First Avenger, I find those to be very adult, mature.
I'm going to say very, very.
Even Civil War with all the characters, very mature.
I mean, but you know what it is? They're formulaic, though. I will say this. They're formulaic.
Yeah, well, I mean...
They're very formulaic.
Which one is it?
They're formulaic. They're very formulaic. You could see when they want to add the levity, when they want to do this. You could kind of almost beat for beat catch it.
Yeah, but again, like I said, but which one is it, though?
I would say, but then now when you look at Man of Steel stuff, they focus on the story and the vision and where they're going with. They're not trying to say, hey, we should throw a joke in here just to even out the levity and let's do it here. They don't do that. They just kind of go where the story takes it.
Outside of Man of Steel and BVS, I think Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Suicide Squad, and Justice is beat for beat. I think they're very predictable movies. I think beat for beat.
I think with Wonder Woman, again, like I said, I get your argument with DCU. I don't deal with the whole DCU. I go with, because my argument has always been Snyder's vision was going towards
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
So for me, just to preface my argument, I will say this. The only thing that is formulaic about maybe Wonder Woman was it was kind of a ripoff of Little Mermaid. So you kind of could have just read that beat for beat, but it wasn't shot like that. It was shot like they was trying to keep this tuned to the movie. They didn't get grounded with it. Patty Jenkins, I don't know if that was her idea or maybe it was Zach's. I don't know whose idea it was, because I know Zach was very involved with the first one. I don't know. I was surprised that they really went with the Greek gods as they looked. I was surprised for that. And I just found out something recently. You know how we always said we believe that third act, or I did, could have been Zach? I found out that they were saying that that's not exactly true. Studio heads were messing around with the third act of that film.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But I'll look into that later. But I mean, your last thoughts on the DCU fandom?
I'm with it. I'm with the shit. I listen. I think that I who is a movie fan and a superhero fan, but I've never been a DC person. I just never was.
So would you
You know,
go
and
see it? Would you go watch the
oh yeah,
virtual?
of course. Oh
Oh,
yeah, of course I would. I would. Listen, I if I had the money, because I've gone to Comic-Con, but to get into the halls costs more.
oh no,
It,
I don't.
it,
I
it,
won't go to the halls. They cost more. Yeah, I ain't doing
right,
that.
that's the thing. But if I had the money, I would.
Oh yeah. If I
I
had it
would.
like that, I'd
So
go to a hall. I mean, as
right,
long as
so
it's not them ab long, because I heard that these lines be long as fuck. So
yeah,
like,
yeah. But what I'm just
I
saying
but
is,
but
but
but if
no,
I could get to it,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
I'm here for it, and again, I'm here for Wonder Woman 1984. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't so impressed with the previews, but I want to see it. I did like Aquaman.
Wait, 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 wait,
I'm
wait, wait, wait.
very
What previews? Previews of what? Oh, you're not. Oh,
1984
you're
Wonder Woman.
not. You're not.
I really wasn't. I thought the
Oh, this is a
preview.
first.
I thought it underwhelmed me. But again, I did like the first Wonder Woman movie, so I'm gonna be there. Aquaman 2, which is not even shooting yet, that's 2022. That's the date I saw it. So, but still, I did like the first one. Robert Pattinson's Batman, I'm very interested in. I like Matt Reeves as a director. I think what Matt Reeves did with the H franchise, taking it over from the second one to the third one, I thought he did a phenomenal job with that. Robert Pattinson is one hell of an actor. Most people just know him from Twilight. I've seen Good Time. I've seen The Elephant. I've seen some of his indie films. I've actually seen them. Yo, he's a damn good actor. And when you talk about disappearing, the movie he did, Good Time, his look, his accent, I didn't even know that was. You wouldn't even know it was him. He's damn near almost like. Did you ever see the movie The Revenant with DiCaprio?
Nah, I got to though.
It's real simple. DiCaprio gets the Oscar, right? I thought the real.
Oh, you
actor
told me
in the
about
movie,
it. Tom Hardy. Yeah.
I thought he's the real actor in the movie. You didn't. And I remember. This is how good it is. I remember when the preview first came out. You read a review of the preview, and I saw about 3 different previews, like Rolling Stone Time. And they all said it's unrecognizable Tom Hardy. I remember the first time I saw the preview of The Revenant, and I remember saying, "Where the hell is Tom Hardy? Like, where is Tom Hardy?" When you watch the movie, you're like, God damn, his accent, his look, like he really disappeared. And I was like, and then he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, which he should have been, but I thought that, because DiCaprio really doesn't speak in the movie. It's a silent movie. DiCaprio barely speaks. His acting is more just facial expressions, which I've seen. I think he was given that performance because they kept robbing him for years, pretty much. That's what I think it was, but that's a whole other subject. But I thought Hardy was unrecognizable, and the reason why I use that is I thought when I saw Good Time with Robert Pattinson, I thought he's damn near unrecognizable. His New York accent, everything. This guy can act. He's the real deal. He's the real deal. Take all that Twilight stuff out the picture. Robert Pattinson can act. He really is the real deal. So to get an actor of his caliber to play Bruce Wayne, I'm very interested. And like I said, we wanted a Ben Affleck directed Batman, but Ben Affleck had his own personal problems with alcohol and things like that, and we wish him well. But I think that Matt Reeves, I think that was perfect casting, if you want to use the word. For a director, I think if anybody has any doubts about Matt Reeves, please. The first Planet of the Apes, he didn't direct it, but he took over 2 and 3, which is 2 is Planet of the Apes and the other one is War of the Apes. I think Matt Reeves did a phenomenal job with both those movies. And I think that he is the right guy for this. And from what I've seen and from what I heard, even his casting, Colin Farrell is playing the Penguin. And I'm going to tell you right now, shout out to one of my YouTubers, Grace Randall and John Campia, who both are big Colin Farrell fans. He's one of the best actors in the game. And him playing the Penguin, I didn't even see that coming. And I was like, that's really interesting. And from all the casting for Jeffrey Wright playing Commissioner Gordon, even Zoe Kravitz playing Catwoman. If anybody has anything to say about race bending, y'all better go watch the Adam West Remember Eartha Kitt. Put some respect on her name.
Oh, that's a whole fact. But she wasn't the original. I actually used to think she was the original. I actually thought she was the original one. But yeah.
For those of you who be like, oh my God, Zoe Kravitz, they got to get a black girl to play Catwoman. It's been done before.
Yeah.
And a matter of fact, how dare I disrespect it? Halle Berry with Catwoman.
I mean, yeah.
And even though that movie was horrible, but and also, for those of you who don't know, if you've ever seen the show Big Little Lies, Zoe Kravitz is actually turning out to be quite an actress.
Yeah, everyone keeps saying about that. I haven't followed her career.
I saw the first. Well, it's only been 2 seasons. The first season she doesn't really. But the second season, she got to. She showed you some things, and I think honestly, her look, her face. Because she's got a very strong jawline, and if she rocks that short haircut she's been rocking, I think Zoe Kravitz will be amazing as Catwoman. And up against Robert Pattinson, so I'm very interested. I saw the still with the Batmobile. I'm very interested in Matt Reeves' vision. Very much interested in that. So for me, when it comes to the DC, I'm with it. I like the fact that they are doing their own thing, and I think that's all it took. I think what happens is you spend so much time looking at the competition that you forget about you. You're running your race.
Mm-hmm.
You're running your race.
Mm-hmm.
Don't run it. But they were trying to run, a plan that Marvel already had years ahead of them, and even if they didn't, that was Marvel's plan and Kevin Feige's plan, and it just worked out. You know what, guys? Instead of trying to rush it, you should have just ran your race.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put out some good movies. But I saw, like I said, just a side note. You know what I thought my first problem was, honestly?
Okay.
After Superman, we had Batman v Superman, right?
Yeah.
When I saw Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman on the cover, and it was called The Dawn of Justice, I saw a problem with that. I already was like, damn, they're already trying to rush this group film immediately.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first thought. I thought it should have been Man of Steel Part 2, and you could have introduced Batman, maybe a Batman movie alone, and then maybe Batman v Superman, you could introduce Wonder Woman. But I think that they saw the success of Avengers. That's because, remember, Avengers was the first Billy Goat. So they saw, and Avengers was the first team movie where, wow, this really worked. We got all these superstars, Scarlett Johansson, Chris, we got all these people in one movie together, and I just thought that DCU said, yo, let's hurry up and get Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, let's hurry up and get them all together. I think that's what it was. Let's hurry up and get them all together. And I think that was a mistake, and I think when they moved away from that and said, you know what, guys, let's stop trying to chase Thanos. Let's do our own thing. Let's make our own movies. Let's just focus on making a good movie.
And that's what I mean about agendas. Don't have an agenda. Don't be like, I want to make the women movie. I want to make the MCU version of this. Anytime you do that, you lose sight of what made you come here, what brought you here. So you should make it happen organically.
Like I'll tell you this: as much as I love the MCU, right? I think the MCU is they got an interesting crossroads. You know why? From day one, we've been building up to this Thanos thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was always a talk about the stones or the Tesseract. From Iron Man, we've always been building to this Thanos thing. Even in Guardians of the Galaxy, Thanos is in it. It's not Josh Brolin, but Thanos is in it. So there's always been this big build-up. Well, guess what? We've already got there. Tony Stark is dead. Chris Evans walked away. Obviously they gave Thor a third movie, but now this Thanos thing is gone with the Avengers. The MCU's at a crossroads at where to go.
Well, they've already expressed what they was considering doing. I mean, in terms
Uh,
of telling smaller stories,
right,
they
right.
said they thinking about not going for a large bad again, because then it'll look. And if you ask me, that's when it starts to look formulaic.
Right. It looks corny. But I do like what they're doing with venturing out Guardians of the Galaxy or the Eternals. I like that they're venturing out, and I think that I think that's a good look, and I think that they're gonna find their way. There's only one thing. If I could speak to Kevin Feige, I would love to see happen before we get off.
I'm listening.
You know what I'd love to see you find a way to get Charlie Cox and Daredevil in the MCU.
Oh, I want that bad. Everybody wants. I'll be honest with you. I want all of them. I want all of them. I mean, if you want to say goodbye to Iron Fist, I'm okay. But I would rather all of them. I like Jessica Jones, all of them. If I had to choose one, though, I'd go with Daredevil, Charlie Cox. He's the best.
I could care less about all of them. And when I say, and again, I'm not saying bring Daredevil. I actually want you to bring the actor too.
Now I know what you mean.
Like
the actor to play it.
Yeah, because Daredevil, as you know me personally, Daredevil was one of my favorite superheroes. One of my favorite comics was Daredevil. But I actually, if you found a way to bring Daredevil in the MCU, no, I want you to bring Charlie Cox too. I think
Daredevil would fit.
Huh?
I think he fits in there.
Oh yeah, I think he does. I think he does. I think that you could easily insert Daredevil in. And I think that I would love to see that. I would love to see Charlie Cox, Daredevil, and Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin.
Oh, yes. He was their best villain before, for the whole, I don't care, the whole MCU. He was the best villain until, Josh Thanos.
Yeah. He was there. And I think that, I would
actually,
really
I think I like him more than I'd like Killmonger.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. I think that if I had to name 1 and 2, it would be Thanos #1 and Kingpin #2.
And then it would be Killmonger for me.
Yeah, it would be Killmonger. He could get the third spot.
He get third spot. I mean,
yeah, he get that. I think that's where it ends. But
yeah.
Other than that, good talk, man.
I mean, but anyways, so if that's the last part, I just want to do the last sign off with that concludes this episode. Longer than we thought, but I felt like we talked about a lot of different things. But I would like to say goodbye to Mr. Truth, T the Truth. So, anything else you would like to add and give us your you got any handles and anything else you want people to be able to find you at and to discuss all things movies?
No, you will find me just on this same channel talking about movies and other things until I set other things up. The only thing I have to say is, since we're talking about movies, I really can't wait for this COVID to be open so I can get back in the movie theater.
Oh, that's some real shit. I'll be honest with you, I do look forward to go to the movie theaters, but when the movie theaters were movie theaters. I don't want no weird movie theater experience.
Now, I will say this, though. I will say this. Because everything is getting pushed back, like, almost every movie that was supposed to come out is getting pushed back to 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So you got all the movies that were supposed to come out in 2020 coming out in 2021, and the movies that were going to come out in 2021 still coming out in 2021.
You think some of it hasn't been pushed back because they were supposed to be recording?
Well, some of them were already done.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that a lot of movies are in post production where you're in the editing room, so quarantine's not affecting.
No, I see where you're going from with it.
But what I'm just saying is, I can tell you right now, 2021. We'll have a lot to talk about because I will be in the theater every week.
Oh man, my pockets. Yeah, my pockets. But we're gonna do it real major, man. But like I said, always, it's not always about me, and obviously what T thinks. It's also about what you guys think. So just leave it all in the comments below. We love to chop it up with you guys, and I like to even, if you got any questions for T in the comments, please drop it there. I'll make sure that he looks into it. So we just keep the discussion flowing. It's all about being positive, and for the most part, if you know me, I'm not just about the movies in and of itself, the business, of course, but the art of it. I'm really into the art of movie storytelling and writing, and I really have a deep fascination and passion for it. As you can see, we did not expect to get this long-winded with it, but this goes to show you how we look at films and how much we like films, even with such a short uh amount of questions, how
Mm-hmm.
deeply involved we are. So if you love movies like we do, man, leave it in the comments below, talk to us about it. We here for it. And like I always say, like, share, subscribe. See you next time. And as always, till I have a better outro, chill.
Take care. Good night, everybody.